Vou errar, como errei com você, era o prazer de amar. E aí, seus putos? Boa noite, boa noite. Chegamos mais uma vez aí para mais um episódio do Podstarbrasil. E seja bem-vindo aí. Você que é novo, considere se inscrever, dar aquele like também maroto, né? E vamos nessa aí para um react de um dos dias mais importantes, inclusive, da história do Star Atlas. Bom dia, senhores. Bom dia, Falcon. Tamo junto. E espero que vocês estejam me ouvindo. Estão? Se estiver, confirmem aí para mim, por favor. Deixa eu só ajeitar as coisas aqui enquanto vocês chegam. Deixa eu ver aqui se tá tudo certo. E nunca mais vou errar, como errei com você. Deixa eu ver. Só ajeitar as coisas aqui. Positivo. Fala, Maverick. Beleza? Vamos nessa, hein? A gente hoje vai fazer, além do react, né? Avisa, inclusive, a galera aí que já tá no ar, tá? Avisando no Discord, eu vi um pipoco aqui. Será que alguém falando aqui do... Mandando? É isso. Ah, não. Isso aqui sou eu. Mas, enfim, manda aí pra galera, falar que já começou. A gente vai discutir algumas coisas sobre o projeto aqui, algumas coisas que aconteceram durante esses anos, né? E que vão acontecer, e nosso olhar sobre isso. Então, tem bastante coisa legal aqui pra gente discutir hoje. Vou passar os melhores momentos aí, não vai ser tudo, mas a gente vai ficar aqui por um bom tempo, tá? Pelo menos aí umas 2 horas. Já que o evento foi 7, eu vou resumir em 2, vou tentar resumir aí em 2 horas, né? O que é que foi que... Resumir não, vou fazer o react, passar os melhores momentos, fazer o react e dar uma visão para vocês, o que é que tá por vir, o que é que eles mostraram lá, o que é que pode concretizar rápido, curto, médio prazo. Então, várias análises aí para você que gosta do projeto, para você que está no projeto aí, se situar, né, na visão de quem conhece muito o projeto, que é meu caso, e o caso de muitos aí do chat. E a gente vai aí fazer essa viagem e ver os pontos de vista, né? Eu já vi os pontos de vista de algumas pessoas, né? De os youtubers gringos, da própria equipe, enfim. Aí eu vou dar meu ponto de vista que você vai montar o quebra-cabeçazinha, o quebra-cabeça e tomar atitudes, né? De acordo com o seu nível de exposição, com o seu nível de crença. E é isso. Então vamos lá. Vou trocar aqui a tela. A gente vai falar primeiro aqui sobre o Bitcoin. O Bitcoin tá aí 2% de valorização. Eu acho, cara, que bater aí 11 horas que vai trocar o... É porque a cada... 11 horas o quê? 9 horas. 9 horas é que muda essa barrinha, tá? Pra quem não sabe, esse gráfico diário aqui é assim, ó. Essa barrinha aqui é um dia, tá? E aí, a cada dia desse aqui, renova às 21 horas. Ou seja, estamos a 1 hora aí de renovar uma nova barrinha. E geralmente a tendência da próxima barrinha é seguida pelas 2 horas, anteriores. Então, se o mercado está forte nas 2 últimas horas, antes das 9, é porque a coisa tende a avançar para o lado que estava a 2 horas anteriores, tá? Então, cara, eu observei aqui as 2 horas passadas foram fortes, tá? E essa última hora aqui, quando bateu 20 horas, começou a subir loucamente. Inclusive, olha a Atlas e Polis aqui. A Atlas subindo aí 18%, já chegou a seus 21%. Vamos dar uma olhadinha aqui. Olha que vela maravilhosa, meu Deus do céu. Tá 18, né? Chegou a 21, 20 e pouco, tá? Polis também. Polis tá bem legal. Então, as duas aí já voltaram na tendência. Olha essa tendência aqui. A última vez que isso aconteceu foi em fevereiro, tá? De 2024. E aí, a última vez que aconteceu, o que tá acontecendo agora, Atlas subiu aí mais de 200%. Então, se eu fosse você, eu começaria a produzir mais e mais aí no Sage para acompanhar esse movimento e lucrar cada vez mais, né? Então, para quem estava, né? A gente vai passar várias coisas hoje aqui do que houve, né? Ia falar Breakpoint. Breakpoint é o Summit, né? Do Status. Para quem viu o Summit e achou, pô, tá falando mais do passado, poucas coisas à frente. Cara, quem tava nesse período, né? Dos últimos 3 anos, quem entrou lá no período, mesmo que a gente encarou toda essa queda aqui, não tem que reclamar, cara. Se você acompanhou o canal e se você fez movimentos que estão alinhados ao que eu passo sempre aqui, cara, você não tem o que reclamar, tá? Mas aí, se você ficou desesperado 1 hora e quis vender lá no fundo, aí beleza. Aí você com certeza tá com um pouco de rancor, um pouco de bode desse mercado, principalmente dos NFT Games, né? Então, o mercado tá começando a reverter, a gente tá vendo isso aqui, né? O Bitcoin, ele tá nessa faixa aí de preço desde fevereiro também, de 2024, então a gente percebe aqui que tá meio que alinhado com tudo, todo o mercado aqui, na verdade, tá alinhado com o Bitcoin, né? Não deveria ser diferente. E o Bitcoin aqui está demonstrando uma certa força e está passando aqui da média de 8 semanas, que é uma média importante, que faz com que os mercados, né, fiquem eufóricos ao passar dessa média, tá? Então, como a gente consegue ver aqui, ó, por exemplo, passou da média, só voltou um tempão depois, lá em cima, então, tipo, passou da média de 27 mil dólares, voltou para a média em 41, ou seja, quase dobrou para voltar para a média. Depois de 41, tocou na média, voltou aqui em 65, tá? Então, altas violentas, violentíssimas, tá? Então, espero que vocês estejam, né, ouvindo o que e fazendo com o que eu falo, geralmente ouvindo as dicas com o que eu falo aqui no canal. E para vocês verem, né, eu faço tudo aquilo que eu prego, tá? Então, para vocês verem, minhas posições estão todas aqui, certo? Desde o começo aí do bear market, vocês têm visto a minha evolução aqui, a minha carteira tá aqui intacta, certo? Nunca baixa aqui, quando baixa de $1.000 é muito pouco. E olha o que eu já fiz aqui, eu saquei $400, certo? Precisei sacar, tá? Tá fazendo uma reformazinha no quarto, saquei, mas já tô aqui com $152 aí de caixa. E, inclusive, eu tô montando um vídeo muito interessante sobre essa minha estratégia aqui. Eu acho que esse vídeo vai ser muito legal para vocês saberem o que fazer no bull market, tá? Eu acredito que é mais fácil você perder tudo no bull market do que no bear market, tá? Por quê? Porque o bear market, né, voltar aqui um pouquinho para minha cara, para eu ter esse papo com vocês antes, o bear market, ele te força a ter uma posição mais conservadora. E o bull market, ele te ilude com ganhos muito exponenciais, muito rápido. E o que faz você ter a percepção falsa de que tudo vai subir para sempre. E aí, no meio do bull market, da segunda metade do bull market, você já tá achando que, cara, impossível isso aqui cair mais, tá? Porque é notícia boa em cima de notícia boa, e é tudo verde o tempo inteiro. E aí, cara, você fica ganancioso e quer ficar investindo mais, reinvestindo, sem parar. E tem uma hora que para, certo? E é justamente nesses períodos aqui, ó. Nesses períodos aqui, tá? Que aí a queda é gloriosa, como a gente já presenciou e já viveu toda ela, né? Então vocês já me viram. Eita. Vocês já me viram desde aqui, tá? Eu abri o canal mais ou menos aqui, ó. Certo? Peguei toda essa queda aqui com vocês e agora a subida está promissora. Então, vamos lá, sendo mais delongas, senão vai ficar muito grande essa live aqui. Vou tomar meu cafezinho, espero que vocês tenham também alguma coisa para tomar, se não, tomar água também. E a gente vai assistir aqui algumas partes do Impact Summit do Star Atlas, tá? Para quem não sabe, esse Impact aí, Impact Star Atlas Summit, foi um evento que o Star Atlas promoveu exclusivamente do Star Atlas, tá? No mesmo prédio do Solana Breakpoint. Então, teve o Solana Breakpoint, o Star Atlas não teve muito destaque, para dizer que nenhum, na verdade, no Breakpoint, o que eu acho péssimo para Solana, na verdade, porque o Star Atlas não tá muito ligando para isso, já que vocês estão vendo aqui, né, 6.900 visualizações, muitos likes, muita gente vendo, muita gente eufórica, muita tecnologia sendo construída, e a Solana simplesmente ignorou. E, enfim, quem perde é a Solana, né? E vamos lá. Provavelmente esse vídeo não vai ter nenhum tipo de apoio financeiro por conta do YouTube, tá? E eu incentivo vocês a comprar qualquer coisa aí no Star Atlas. Se você for comprar, é claro, se você já for comprar alguma coisa no Star Atlas, comprar aí com o primeiro link da descrição, que vai te dar 10% no mercado primário, ou se você comprar qualquer outra coisa aí no mercado secundário pelo site do Star Atlas, pelo marketplace do Star Atlas, você vai estar ajudando o canal, beleza? Então, primeiro link é na descrição, tá? E é isso. Tá, no começo aqui, a apresentadora faz uma dinâmica ali com a galera, manda a galera ficar em pé.
Alright, well, Captain Wagner himself has given me the green. Let's get this first panel started.
E esse primeiro painel aqui estão algumas personalidades, né, do Star Atlas. Então tem o Danny Floyd, tem o Gary Sanchez, tem várias personalidades aqui, certo? Do Star Atlas, o Tipto tá também, e intermediado aí pelo Dominic. Ele faz algumas perguntas, algumas considerações, e é interessante a gente vai ver aqui legendado, então vocês vão ver com a legenda em português, tá? Eu vou mudar aqui minha tela para vocês conseguirem ver melhor, né? Porque eu vou ficar em cima da legenda se eu ficar onde eu tô agora. Agora sim. E aí vocês vão conseguir ver a legenda, tá? E eu vou comentar algumas coisas. Você do chat aí já viu o evento? Vocês chegaram a ver o Summit? Para eu saber também o quanto é que eu vou parar, se eu paro muito, se eu paro pouco, para explicar, né? Enfim, vai estar aí a tradução, então também não vou precisar ficar parando toda hora.
Gary Sanchez.
Valeu, tamo junto. Vamos lá.
He is the vehicle art director, and he worked at Cloud Imperium Games on Star Citizen, has also worked at Ubisoft and Apple Games. Moving down the line here, we have Martin Orlowski. He is the animation rigging director, and he has worked on big blockbuster films like Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy, Planet of the Apes, and Avatar. And he also has some really, really cool experience with stop motion animation.
Já viu que o cara é brabo, né? O cara tem um currículo absurdo. Avatar, Star Wars, coisa fina, viu?
And has worked at Sony Entertainment, so a lot of experience there. And to round it out, last but not least, we have my main man, Chip Zarita, and he is our game systems director, and he has worked on spacecraft and ground systems at the U.S. Department of Defense. So, like I said, we have a star-studded cast. I have a good round of questions here that I'm excited to get into. And I'm gonna start it off spicy. You know, first panel, first question. We're gonna start it off with something spicy here. You know, Web3 gaming. When you think of Web3 gaming, for some people, it leaves a sour taste in their mouth. And to be honest,
isso vai ser interessante a gente ver, porque é a visão do nosso projeto, entre aspas, né? Para com todo o ecossistema. Então, tem vários outros projetos aí, e a gente vai ver aí como é a visão do nosso projeto, né? O projeto que a gente vem cobrindo aí a respeito desse ecossistema que a gente está incluído.
For not the worst reason. And we're trying to be the complete opposite of that. We want to be a good actor in the space. So my first question for this panel is, what are we doing to bring legitimacy to Web3 gaming through Star Atlas? Chip, you want to start us off?
Sure. we have a lot of different departments on the product side represented here. Me personally, I'm representing the gameplay side, game systems. And for me, it's gameplay. Web3, the innovation that Web3 brings with on-chain asset ownership, composability, extensibility, none of that matters unless the game's fun. So gameplay, day in, day out, that's what I focus on.
I'm the same, yeah, same with Chip. So yeah, a lot of studios, a lot of projects out there are really focused on Web3 gaming, and they kind of, to me, they looking at it from a different, wrong angle. They just so focus on the Web3 that they forget about the fun that the gamers expect from the experience. And I think we're doing this right, building block by block a big, massive gaming experience, massive universe that's hopefully going to be super fun to play with, and that's our main focus. Yeah.
Quality and fun to play. I love it. Gary, what about you, man?
And me, it's on vehicle side, it's more about, it's like the other game, in fact. It's trying to make the best in terms of immersivity for the graphics and the visual, and to have the ship the more realistic as possible. So there is no particularity, just exploiting as the most as possible the Unreal Engine 5 and the potential of the motor to make the Web3 good. Mm-hmm. So.
Danny, moving on to you here. What do you think here with this question?
Yeah, with legitimacy, I think a big part of that is legit people, like people who've done things before in this industry. What if I can go back to like 2009 and we were looking at like iOS apps, my brother and me, we started a little development startup. And back then, if you were to go on the App Store and everything just kind of looked like, you know, Rush stuff, just to put it out there, shovelware a little bit. And and it's because it was like a new frontier, right? A lot of people were still like building console games or building PC games. And then all of a sudden we have this untapped, massive mobile platform that people haven't really migrated over to yet. And when we first looked into blockchain gaming, it was kind of a similar landscape. You could see kind of some shovelware, you know, some stuff that a lot of improvement, you know, had a room for a lot of improvement. And so what we did in both cases, actually, back then, we came out with apps that were just as high quality as we can. You know, you just come out, like you could put a drop shadow on an icon and blow up back then on an iPhone. But we didn't do that. We went full on. We went the best possible art you could do, great UI UX. We even went like took our own photos, like on location stuff to make our first app really cool. And it blew up, you know, so we saw a similar thing with blockchain gaming where it's like still early. People are unsure about this tech, but there's a massive untapped market of really interesting things you can do. And you look at mobile and like everything's on mobile now. Everything's done, you know, it's like your everything device. So with blockchain, it's kind of similar.
Rapaziada, pra quem ainda não pegou, esse cara aqui é a cabeça do Star Atlas, tá? A mente pensante aqui do Star Atlas é esse cara aqui. Então, ouvir o que é que ele tem para falar sobre contexto de mercado, contexto dos NFT games, blockchain, é super interessante, não só para o Star Atlas, mas como você vai interagir com esse ecossistema agora, porque ele tá falando aqui do ciclo passado. E, cara, as coisas costumam rimar de um ciclo pro outro. Não é igual, mas elas costumam rimar. Então, se você pegar aqui conhecimentos, né? Pegar o conhecimento dele, aplicar na sua interação que você tem atualmente com o mercado, vai ser de grande valia, tá?
Where a lot of things are converting over to this tech, but people don't really necessarily understand the full potential of it. So what we do is we come in and we legitimize the tech by showing like what I think is the perfect use case is Star Atlas. And we brought in the best people who have done this before. And we didn't just say, hey, let's make something and get it out and hope it succeeds. We went, nah, we're going to go full out with every single aspect, every department, get the best people, the best heads of every department, and just really go take the tech to extreme, take the art to the extreme, take the gameplay to extreme and fun, and and have a blast while we're doing it and show how it could be done. And so that I think is bringing a lot of legitimacy to the tech. It's not even necessarily putting the tech front and center. It's about hoisting it and giving it a platform for that tech to really, shine. And that's my answer.
I love that answer. I love that answer. The right people, the right vision at the highest quality possible. I love that answer. Thank you, Danny.
I think there's one more component, longevity of the project. Like we've been here doing this for so long. I think nothing confirms, legitimacy as like being in it for a long time.
That's true too. I mean, we've been here since 2021, and then a lot of projects in crypto. Everybody makes a joke. You've been here for 3 years. You've been here for like a decade. So yeah, I completely agree. We've been here for a very, very long time, and we plan on being here for the foreseeable future, building this incredible vision that we all set out to do. So yeah, great answers, guys. I kind of want to move on to the next question, pretty related to what you were talking about, Danny, with quality and how important that is. You guys are quality. When we think about Star Atlas and your guys' respective fields in Star Atlas, you guys maintain quality and make sure that the quality is persistent throughout the game in your field. So I wanna kind of go into that and how do you guys measure quality? How does that work? Chip, I'd like to start with you.
Sure. So from the gameplay perspective, the thing I look at, and an easy way to measure it is playtesting. So when I'm watching playtesters, high quality gameplay is when your playtesters enter that flow state. All of you know it, when you lose track of time, you're having so much fun. And the way you get into the flow state is when you have the right balance of challenge and reward. So we look for that to have high quality gameplay. We also look at responsive and intuitive controls.
Cara, citou flow state, né? É estado de flow. Eu sinto isso jogando, por exemplo, CS. CS, cara, você entra no estado de flow ali surreal, né? Você parece que você é o personagem que tá lá ouvindo os passos e mirando e atirando, que é surreal.
So if your playtester gets down, you shouldn't have to explain to them how to play your game. It should explain itself. That's really important. So again, the flow state, intuitive, responsive controls for quality gameplay.
Love that. Martin, with animation, rigging, and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of intricacies that go into that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, it kind of naturally flows from Chip's answer to the flow state. A big part of the flow state is also how connected you stay with your character, and that's no matter whether it's a game, whether it's a movie, you want to have this emotional connection to the character. You want to feel like you're the character you build, you crafted, or purchased, or acquired. And that's done a lot through animation as well. So the best quality bar, the best quality kind of approval is when you feel that you're the character that you're playing with, whether it's a character. And by the character, I don't mean just the species that we have, in the game. It's also vehicles. Like as soon as you hop on a vehicle, you're becoming either the vehicle or the character still that's riding the bike, and etc. So as long as you feel like you're in the game yourself, then we've done a good job here.
Love that. He talked a little bit about vehicles, Gary.
Tá vendo? E, inclusive ele falou isso agora, né? É como se você estivesse no veículo. Eu citei aqui o CS, o Counter-Strike, como se a gente estivesse lá sendo o cara que tá com arma, tirando, enfim. E aqui no Star Atlas, né? Apesar de o foco agora ser no shooter de terceira pessoa, mas os veículos ainda prestam um papel central ali no universo. Ele citou aqui o veículo, né, como se você fosse o veículo mesmo. E, claro que a gente ainda não chegou nesse estado de flow, mas a gente está nesse caminho. O ideal é que, né, a equipe ela saiba para onde é que ela vai, onde ela quer chegar, né? E esse estado de flow aí realmente é uma boa exemplificação de como se divertir em um game, né?
Perfect segue to you.
Yes.
Vehicles are a huge part of Star Atlas. That is, when you're playing Star Atlas, there's a very, very big likelihood you're going to be interacting with the vehicle. So can you talk a little bit about quality with vehicles and the spaceships?
Yes, there is different aspect of it. So the aesthetics, for sure. When we created the brand and the different manufacturer, we try to make it as immersive as possible, like a real car design brand, but with spaceship. So we try to make something really qualitative in terms of art direction there, where each ship brand has its own identity and specificity. So it's through split line, materials, and many aspects of the weapon and etc. There is also the functionality, so it's integrating all the gameplay system done by ship also in our ship and make sure that it works well. So it's like all the specification for interior especially, which are big constraint, and also the landing gear, which is a part people don't see in vehicle, but it's quite tricky and big work behind. For sure, the animation of the ship to make looks alive, functional and working. And there is also the performance. I'm help on there with Sean Davis also for Unreal Engine 5 performance. So to make sure also that the quality is working also in the game with the best FPS extra. So yeah.
Oh, I love that answer, Gary. Danny, moving on to you. You oversee the whole operation, so quality, I think you have a lot to say here, so I'm interested to get your thoughts.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to say. The first thing, obviously, is I lean on these guys to take care of their departments, to really push the quality, and the most important thing from my perspective is to give them as much time and resources as possible to really polish and build the tech that they need. And so a lot of the things behind the scenes and me fighting to make sure that we extend the time so we can, see through the potential quality that we can reach. But overall, I come from a traditional art background too. I went to school as an art major in school. And I remember in my drawing class, my teacher, professor, artist, when he would review the drawings from the students, he would just go like it's just really fast, like, and he could, and when you're processing something that fast, it's because you've trained in it for so long that it starts to become like not just second nature, but then you train further and it becomes your nature. Now you're literally just emotionally reacting to things you see like immediately, which is faster than sitting there and analyzing things, because there's the 7 design principles, right? There's balance, there's
Cara, isso me lembrou uma coisa que eu vi em um podcast essa semana, que uma pessoa que estava vendo esse podcast, né, falou sobre a masterização de alguma habilidade. Por exemplo, o Messi, né? O Messi, o que é que faz o Messi ser diferente de todos os outros? É porque ele já masterizou a maioria dos movimentos do futebol. E enquanto os outros jogadores, eles estão ocupados, a mente deles estão ocupadas em fazer coisas triviais, tipo um domínio, um passe, visão, enfim, tem vários aspectos que você precisa se prestar atenção em um jogo. O Messi já faz automaticamente, ou seja, a mente dele já sobra espaço para ele se preocupar com os detalhes agora. Então ele não está mais preocupado, por exemplo, em domínio, ele não está mais preocupado em visão de jogo, ele está preocupado nos detalhes, ou seja, a passada do cara que ele vai botar na cara do gol tá condizente com o movimento que ele vai dar o passe. Esses detalhes assim que os outros jogadores eles estão ocupados demais para fazer outras coisas que o Messi já masterizou. E o professor do Danny, ele citando aqui, me faz lembrar, inclusive, essa citação. E aprender com os melhores é sempre a melhor opção, né? E, inclusive, esse cara aqui, cara, é muito bom, mano. Esse cara é muito bom.
Proportion, repetition. I'm not going to be ChatGPT right now, but you forget those over time, and they become second nature. You start, okay, now I've done the exercises, I've done the training. And then it gets to the point where it's literally just like I get physically ill if something is like off, right? If it doesn't have the quality bar, I'm like, oh.
We had a play test several weeks ago, and Danny was like, "I'm getting nauseous," and it was because the environment was in blockout phase. It wasn't polished yet, and Danny was like, "Yeah, it's really funny."
My eyes are like scanning all this stuff that's unfinished, and it's like, okay, I made it through one match. I need to take a break. But we went and played it back when it was like really polished, and I was just loving it. Right, it was chill. So that and because I'm basically, we had John Berube as art director for a while. We had to downscale, so I took over art director for the whole team, and I'm game director. I'm also like, storyteller basically.
You do it all.
And so I have to process and context switch all the time, all these different styles of art. But you as an artist, you don't really like necessarily specialize. You understand quality no matter what medium it is, and then you can apply that to a lot of different things. And one of the main things I do, especially with video games, is does it look like CG? And if it does, then it's bad, because machines are good at making more machines. So for like hard surface stuff or like inorganic materials. But when you want to bring something to life, like characters or how characters interact with machines and how those machines move around, you have to transcend that, and you have to really work at getting this machine to make something look believable and realistic and immersive. Because once you see something glitch out or things clip through each other, and now you're breaking the immersion for people who are trusting you to set you up in a nice immersive IP and the world building that you've done, all this work that you've done, and you see one little thing that goes off, like a coffee cup on the table of Daenerys' set that appears in the show. Now you break the immersion that so many people on the production side are working to maintain integrity. So yeah, that is a large part of it. Is just making sure things don't look like CG or don't just look like they were just processed and at the minimum viable to push it. And we talk about these things, especially like with Martin and Gary. We go into like such detail on the types of secondary effects that we can do. Like even in the hangar, we want it to be like, there's a character sitting on one of the vehicles, and you move it, and it kind of like reacts to it. Things break here and there, but that's the intent. We want these little moments that go beyond and just, here's your ship. Just look at your ship. We want to. The point is to have. It's not so much that, okay, the ship is really cool because it does this. It's how we interact with a piece of machinery as a character that gives us the reward. And so it always comes back to that and understanding that human interaction. So I can keep rambling.
Yeah, we have some other questions here, but I'm sure people love that answer, Danny. So, I mean, when people talk about Star Atlas, one of the first things they always bring up is the quality of Star Atlas, the graphics of Star Atlas, or how good it looks, like things like that. So your guys' work directly contributes to that. So you can definitely tell that a lot of care goes into the things that you guys do, and it means a world of difference to everyone playing the game or looking at it or watching the trailers or whatever it is. So you guys are doing excellent there. Anyways, oh, sorry, Martin.
Since like CG and things looking CG, was mentioned, like that domain was kind of like used to be a domain for films where we would look at things like that cannot look like a CG character because it stands next to an actor, for example, it's a creature or a vehicle, and we live in exciting times, and we're building this game in exciting times where the technology enables us to basically do things that we used to be doing only for movies, but now we can do it in games, which is just exciting. Yeah.
Very exciting. I want to get a little bit more personal here. What attracted you to Star Atlas? I want to start with you, Chip. And we have like 7 minutes left, so I want to go quickly here. We have 2 more personal questions, but yeah, what attracted you to Star Atlas?
Yeah, this one's really easy for me because Star Atlas unironically combines the 3 things that I love growing up. So the first one's space. I mean, I built model rockets and actually some high-powered rockets in high school. I went on to undergrad. I studied astronautical engineering. Grad school, I did orbital dynamics and rocketry. I'm a space nerd. So I love space. I've been a lifelong gamer as well. I mean, I played old school RuneScape, and I still play RuneScape 3 to this day. I'm a RuneScape nerd, lifelong player here. So I love gaming. I mean, I played games all my life. And then the last thing is crypto. I started in crypto back with the original Ethereum DAO. That's how I got into crypto. I mean, I moved on. I'm now a Solana maxi, but I've been in crypto for the longest time. So Star Atlas embodies those three things that I really enjoy: space, gaming, and crypto.
Love that. Martin, what about you?
I really remember like our call with Danny like 3 years ago when he introduced me to Star Atlas, and they didn't know what to expect because they didn't hear much about it. It was still early days, and then he basically expanded all his vision on the vision of the project, and I was sold like immediately over the call. I was working on big production actually at the time, and I decided, yeah, this is the moment where we switch to building immersive experiences that can be very close to match the film quality, and yeah, I was sold immediately. And yeah, and space has always been my thing as well. So, and yeah, building a character or that we let go of and enable other players to interact with it it's a new experience for a filmmaker, because usually you would work with a character or a creature and you would just decide what it's doing and exactly to the point of frame by frame and then let everyone watch it. Versus now you kind of like release this thing and people can interact with it and have some fun and live their life on its own. Yeah, very exciting.
If you're in this room, are you not a space nerd? I feel like everyone's a space nerd here. Gary, what about you?
Yeah, I think I have a spaceship in my head since a child, so it was the opportunity, I think, to express all the creative things I was not able to express even in the heavy industry where I get the chance to work on, like automotive industry, which is cool too, but I think it was the perfect project to express all the things also in my head, I have in my head with this project, and also with Unreal Engine 5 quality. So and also because it was at the start of the project to try to make the foundation of all this spaceship brand, and also it was really like not the white card or the total white page, but it's I will say a big freedom and big possibility of creation, and also building a universe at the start. It's something awesome to me. And the title also, I need to say it's personal, but I think my parents offers me Star Atlas in 3D when I was younger, and so it speaks to me directly like this.
And Danny, this is a particularly unique question because you weren't really attracted to Star Atlas. You created Star Atlas. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a different kind of experience or perspective because I guess I sometimes joke that, Star Atlas wants to exist and we're just helping it kind of to exist. And so in a way that's kind of like me being attracted to it, but I guess some background there is I had recently been playing another Star game that was like almost every day for like an hour, playing this other game that I was just kind of obsessive about. For some reason, I was just really obsessive about every single bit of content, every single ship, every single detail, every single location. I just like was looking at it and observing it like obsessively, and I had no idea why, but it was really cool, and I thought it was a very impressive thing. At the same time, Red Dead Redemption 2, hitting that quality bar in a game that's like that, and that immersive world and the way you interact with it and the stories that can be told, and these things kind of coming together. All the tech at the time, like we had. Probably get more into this on the founders discussion, but sort of the blockchain tech that we've been in for, at the time, seemed like a decade or close to a decade. And Unreal Engine 5 just got announced, so it's like all these things that were coming together and Solana on top of that. So everything just like made sense after doing all the research, and yeah, it just, one thing after another just kept flowing. It's like, as we're developing the idea, it's like, that's perfect, that's perfect. What if we had this? That's perfect. It just kept adding up and enriching the IP and the idea. And, Martin says that he was sold, and I could say the same pitch to somebody else, and that completely won't know what I'm talking about. But there are people who you give them the elevator pitch, like yourself, and everyone up here, and they just get it. You know, it's just like light goes off, and now you're infected with the Star Atlas bug, and we all want to see it be built, right? So.
Exactly. Like once you hear about.
Então, rapaziada, cada um de nós aqui que tá assistindo foi picado, né? Pelo mosquito Star Atlas. Então é justamente que ele tava falando aqui do desenvolvedor, é claro. Mas a gente também se encaixa, tá? Tem pessoas aqui que eu falo, amigos mesmo do dia a dia, que eu cito Star Atlas, falo, tipo, cara, isso aqui é muito foda, não sei o quê. Aí a pessoa, beleza, não sei o quê. Tchau. Sabe? Não absorveu nada, não brilhou os olhos e tal. Mas tem pessoas aqui, como vocês, inclusive, que entendem a grandeza disso, né? A disruptividade disso aí. E se juntam, né? No projeto. E o que é maravilhoso.
Star Atlas, if you do get it, it's like, I remember when I first found Star Atlas, because I started as a community member, I was obsessed, like 12 hours a day. I would watch all of Michael Wagner's interviews, and I would watch all the interviews that I could possibly watch, all the content. I'd be in Discord asking all sorts of questions. So...
Imagine, quando eu entrei no projeto, não tinha nem entrevista do Michael pra ver. Estamos ficando velho no projeto, pô.
Yeah, there's definitely that obsessive bug that you get if you get it. So I definitely get that. Anyways, so we don't really have time for the last question, but I do want to say, if you were interested in a lot of what Danny was talking about, he has the founders panel later today. That's going to be amazing. So definitely go check that out. Thank you guys so much for coming to the first panel. Thank you guys so much for coming to the Impact Summit. If you flew here, if you were just a little bit away, maybe like 10 minutes, whatever, doesn't matter. Appreciate you guys coming. But yeah, that's it for the first panel. Thanks again, everybody. And this has been the first one. See you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Então, rapaziada, esse foi o primeiro painel, né? Que eles falam aqui do evento, tá? Eu vou pular algumas coisas aqui, porque tem a conversação da comunidade. Se vocês quiserem, eu vou deixar aí o link, tá? No chat, para quem quiser ver depois na íntegra, tá aí no chat, tá? Mas eu vou pular aqui, eu vou direto aqui para o Michael. Ele apresenta aí algumas novidades, projetos e tudo mais, tá? Senão vai ficar muito grande aqui, a gente só termina amanhã. Deixa eu ver aqui. Taranã. Vamos ver aqui, esse aqui tá interessante, né? Pra gente ver.
So what we've done is set up a community called the Hyperscale Alpha Community that anyone can join, and you'll see all of our scale tests that are used on our technology available there, and you can join them and play along and see how the future is unfolding. Thank you. Am I handing over to Michael? Here we go.
3, 2, 1, engage.
Isso aqui é Star Atlas, tá, rapaziada? As coisas aí a gente já viu, né?
Obviously, really appreciate the kind words there. Perhaps the most resilient CEO, but I'd also say the most resilient team in Web3, and I'd also say the most resilient community. If you're battle tested, let's hear a round of applause right now. Nice. Well, welcome here to Game State 2024. This is the Big Bang Keynote presentation. And
Só vamos mudar de posição aqui para não ficar estranho. Deixa eu ver se é interessante essa.
There's going to be a bunch of new faces out here in the audience. We have a lot of people tuning in from the audience. So just for the uninitiated, Star Atlas is an ultra-high fidelity, grand strategy, space adventure, open world MMO. Well,
Fala, Henrique, não perdeu muita coisa não, fica ligado aí. Só tá começando.
we're coupling that with a real-world, global, borderless digital economy. So what we believe is that we can deliver both a best-in-class gaming experience, but we can also transform the paradigm of value capture for the players. Star Atlas is not just a game. It presents an opportunity for people all over the world to participate in the formation of a new cyber nation. The functioning economy is just as important as the game, but a great game is the stimulus for the migration to this new digital world. As you can tell, we'll also be passing out plenty of Kool-Aid over the course of the presentation today. So the format of the presentation is a little bit of a past, present, and future. We are going to be taking a look back over the last year, all of the things that we've accomplished. And I have to say, when we started putting this together, I was just absolutely blown away by how much we've done. Then we'll be moving into all of the latest in our Unreal Engine development and just taking a little bit of a look forward at some of the technology that we're using to simplify the onboarding process and make sure that this experience of Star Atlas is accessible to everyone around the world. And so, wait, do you guys hear that? Oh no, this sector's not safe, guys. We've got to get out of here.
Pega essa cinemática aí, irmão. Caralho, a F4 tá bonita, hein? Meu Deus do céu, preto assim com esse globo vermelho. Eu não imaginava esse globo vermelho, não. Se pá, pode até mudar de cor, né? Tipo, a gente poder controlar as cores aqui desse globo. Porra, vai ser top se for assim. E aí, rapaziada, gostaram da F4? Eu gostei bastante. Inclusive, a gente vai conseguir mudar as cores, né? Mas esse preto com vermelho ficou especial, hein? E vocês sabem que a F4 aí é uma das naves aí, assinaturas do canal, né? Eu já tenho ela faz um tempão já, pra mais de 1 ano e meio, 2 anos, sei lá. E muito bom, muito bom. Agora eu espero a R8 agora. Será que tá perto de ficar pronto?
This team seriously makes my job so easy up here. That's the Pierce X4 getting up to gold standard. You're going to see that in the game soon. But that's actually the level of fidelity that we have across all of the assets in Star Atlas. So But as I said, we're starting with Rewind. We don't just
Salve,
talk
salve,
about
Rodrigão.
Star Atlas. We actually ship product. This last year has been incredible. So just starting in December of 2023, we released 2.1.9 of our showroom client. Now, for those that don't know, Star Atlas is playable right now. This is downloadable on Epic Game Store. Little plug, go to our Discord and get a free game access key. It's playable right now, and this showroom module has a number of experimental modes. You can do hover racing, both in a traditional competitive format or combat racing. We have time trial racing with leaderboards. Our flight trainer and dogfighting arena, if you want to get into a little ship versus ship battle, as well as our third-person shooter gunplay. Just as a rewind, let's take another look at everything that came out with 2.19.
Isso a gente já viu, né, rapaziada? Vou pular, tá? Aconteceu, a gente já viu bastante.
All right, and then in February of this year, we launched the DAC platform. Now, DACs are decentralized autonomous corporations. This is essentially the guild ecosystem of Star Atlas, and we really think guilds are the lifeblood of Star Atlas. Happen to be wearing a Rome shirt this year. Please, guys, no fighting amongst the crowd. But no, we have amazing guilds. So when we launched the DAC platform, this was full on-chain DAC registration. I do actually want to give a special shout out to Afia and Victor in particular here, because they're taking all of the on-chain metrics from the guilds and loading that into a Flipside dashboard. Some people are on the notorious Wall of Fame or Wall of Shame. I think that's very cool. But ultimately, this is a marketing platform. It's designed for you that are running guilds to recruit new members and rise in the ranks. Just taking a quick look at some of the numbers here, we've had 179 DACs formally registered, average size about 20 members, almost 3,000 total members across all DACs. And what's really powerful here, just right down at the bottom, is DACs are holding over $100 million worth of game assets right now. So very, very powerful.
Muita coisa, né?
In March, speaking of Metagravity, we rolled out Surge, which is a faction versus faction team-based shooter and extraction gameplay mechanic. The question here was, how big can we go? How many players can we get into a single instance? Right? And through Metagravity, we have that hyperscale user concurrency. So the test went over a couple of weeks. On the last day, we had 2,100 unique playtesters, and that final test had over 1,000 concurrent players in a single instance. And as Tobin mentioned, this is probably the largest successful test of user concurrency in a shooter gameplay ever. So ultimately, the idea here is that this helps us get to an open world MMO of global scale. So let's take a little look at how that test looked.
Também já vimos isso, né? Vou dar uma adiantadinha porque a gente já viu isso aí.
All right, that one brings back some fond memories. Okay, so we talked December, we talked February, we talked March. April, we rolled out a major update to Sage. Sage is Star Atlas Golden Era. That's our browser-based 2D RTS MMO gameplay. It's where our fully on-chain gaming logic lives. It's also where this vibrant, flourishing economy, which is a key pillar of Star Atlas, currently exists. And so that update was star-based. Starbase saw a transition over to a loyalty point system. The idea is that players are crafting components, they're contributing those to Starbases within their faction, they're upgrading those Starbases, they're earning Atlas as they do so. We also brought out on-chain progression and early access for people that are playing now to be able to pre-level their account. So XP systems for the account, as well as some of the sub-licenses that players will need to have going into the future. Today it has 1,200 daily active users, about 5,100 unique profiles, a GDP year-to-date of $15.8 million, and daily average gross earnings of about $15. Now, just to put that into perspective, in countries like India and Thailand, the minimum wage is approximately $15 per day. So, point is, the economic opportunity here is very real. In July, somewhat surprisingly, we released our DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Big thanks to Yves, actually, if he's out there somewhere. There he is. So we rolled out 4 initial PIPs. These PIPs are Polis improvement proposals, lay the foundation of decentralized digital government across Star Atlas. There was a subsequent PIP passed. There was the sponsorship of the Nabathon. That's a hackathon that ended about a week ago. Winners are being announced here today. That was for 6 million Atlas, or about $12,000, fully community funded. We have council elections going on right now. There were 23 candidates that applied for our council. That's been narrowed down to 12, and over the next week will be narrowed down to the final and first 5 council members of the Star Atlas DAO. Let's go. A bunch of them probably out here as well. One of the really cool metrics is that we have an average participation rate of 35%. This might sound kind of like boring governance stuff, but the truth is there's this concept of voter apathy in DAOs. People don't really care. They want economic incentives, but they don't really care about contributing to governance. Now, we don't have any economic incentives in voter participation right now, and the fact that we're seeing a third of the total voting power out there contribute just really demonstrates how passionate our community is about participating in this system and this evolution. And then finally, just quickly pointing out too, since inception, we've carved out dedicated revenue streams from the gameplay that funds the DAO. So this is effectively a collection of taxation off of the GDP. This is important because this allows the DAO to self-perpetuate. And our goal, our vision, is that Star Atlas can live not 5 years, 10 years, but potentially hundreds of years. Kind of a new America moment, just in a digital universe. Okay, and then in August, just last month, we launched what is probably the latest and most likely the last major asset class in Star Atlas, and that's crew packs. Now, crew serve a multitude of utility points. These are your in-game avatars. This is crafting crew in Sage, so the more crew members you have, the more you can produce, the higher your production output. Eventually, these are going to be a part of the mobile application, which is a move to progress fitness app. Naturally, they can serve as your PFP across the Star Atlas ecosystem. And really proud to announce that we just cleared $1.5 million in revenue from crew packs just over the last month, including the pre-sale. This is really important, just so you all know, we can continue producing revenue and building this game. But even cooler than that is we have a video here showcasing some of the people that opened these packs and just the excitement that they got from it.
Got some good beats on this one, so let's go. Whoa! To start us off,
Inclusive eu vi esse lendário aí sendo vendido. Eu tenho um parecido com esse, mas não é lendário não. É raro.
legendary. This is Silver Pack. Let's go!
Oh my god!
Holy
shit!
Yo!
Oh my god!
He got it! He got it!
Unbelievable.
Bro, get the
Man playing. Oh wow.
Pois é, uma galera ganhou o lendário, eu não ganhei um lendário, mano. Tive que comprar o meu, porque eu não ganhei.
We didn't ask permission for any of those videos, so hopefully we don't have a takedown request there. Okay, but we don't always hit all of our goals, but I am very proud to announce that we are launching the Star
Inclusive, tem algum lendário aí? Alguém com lendário no chat?
Atlas mobile app in Q4 2023. And these are the latest mock-ups. Oh, wait, yeah. Okay. We're not launching it in Q4, but still very much on the roadmap. It's a product that I still very much care about. We will be giving you some updates on that in the near future. But what's next? What's next? Here's some of the really...
Ou seja, esse mobile game aí, né, que a gente tá esperando há um tempão, não é pra agora. Provavelmente ano que vem.
exciting stuff that's up and coming. Unreal Preseason. Now, Preseason is effectively a suite of products that we've put together that are designed to capture the hearts of a multitude of different gamers. So a little something for everyone in here. Ultimately, it leads up to our public open launch of Season 0, which is a story-based campaign starting on the Ooster homeworld of Aoki, and will be the official beta launch of Star Atlas. Now, we'll be talking more about that over the course of this year, but the entire build has a major emphasis on multiplayer. So this includes things like competitive and team-based shooter modes like Surge, deep space exploration.
O comandante épico é bem, hein? Eu acho que eu consegui um comandante também épico, se eu não me engano. É uma boa.
Social centers at the central space stations, combat racing. You'll be able to strategically command entire fleets. And we have curated economic loops intersecting all of different aspects of the game. And what I do want to emphasize is that all of these are effectively subsystems of the wider MMO. So we're not really building mini games, we're building systems that become what Star Atlas ultimately is. And they're all designed to give every player a chance to go from zero to hero. And so, speaking of, we've prepared a cinematic trilogy that follows some of our main heroes, Joni and Mendoza, as they're completing a mission to repair a racer and compete in a Volant Station race. It's going to showcase all of the mechanics that you all have access to as we get to preseason, and I am super, super proud to debut part 1 of that with you today.
No one tells you the secrets of the galaxy. The galaxy provides, but you have to find it yourself.
Caralho, esse escaneamento aí ficou muito foda, né? O negócio é que é cinemático. Cinemático também é foda. Não dá pra dar confiança no Cinematic, porque já o nome diz, né? Cinematic. Mas, porra, esse scan aí ficou foda, hein? Achou um SDU aqui, tá vendo?
I had everything. Wealth, power, purpose, beliefs. All gone. But sometimes to evolve, you need to burn everything down. Sometimes you need to learn new things.
Hey guys, I got something.
It is true though, the
Cara, eu acho que nem era SDU, né? Era uma tufa.
galaxy has danger. That comes looking for you when you least expect it. It's hard to know who your friends are. But my father always said, no danger, no deal. He also said that sometimes you need to take what is yours. That you need to make them see the real you. Let them know the truth. That was before he pulled at the strings of reality. That was before he broke the.
Rapaziada, apesar disso aqui ser cinematic, tá? Fiquem pegando aí as visões do que os desenvolvedores querem para as próprias ações do jogo, né? Você viu ela minerando ali, você viu que tem um cara que você viu que o Scan detectou a Tufa foi atacar o cara com a Pierce, eu acho que é X6, né? E aí, perseguição, pá, e acabou que atingiu uma nave que estava minerando, um asteroide. Então, isso aí vislumbra alguma coisa do futuro. Tipo, você pode estar minerando lá e acontecendo uma guerra ao seu redor, e isso pode te afetar.
Star Atlas.
Essa mineradora é muito bonita, velho. Eu acho ela bem bonita.
I can't wait to see parts 2 and 3. Netflix, we are accepting calls if you're interested in making a show with us. Okay, so getting into the gunplay, why did we want to focus on this? Well, as we were out demoing the product, as we were out at events, we saw a major attraction from competitive gamers to get involved in our third-person shooter arenas. And so one of the major advancements that we have coming with that, along with the focus, is for the first time, we'll be introducing consistent multiplayer events at regular cadence. We're going to be adding a number of different game modes that include Surge, which we talked about, Team Deathmatch, Gun Game, amidst a variety of additional game modes. We're adding new maps like Gateway, which is the map being used for the tournament out on the floor today. New weapon types, and we're also introducing progression into this. So the ability to level up your character, earn new gear, and also participate in those earnings economic loops. Bringing back a focus on hover racing. This was a big part of our R2.2 plans. It all got rolled now into preseason. And again, this is the both traditional competitive time trial racing, as well as having those combat gameplay racing loops. The big exciting thing here is we want you to get prepared for ship configuration. So the ability to fully customize your vehicle and out-strategize your opponents. We're also going to be targeting skill-based betting mechanics added into this. So you're going to be able to compete and earn if you're able to win these races. And then Gallia, this is super exciting. It's really your first opportunity for deep space exploration. It is the open world MMO of Star Atlas. I want to emphasize here that this is a completely seamless universe. So no loading screens, whether you're leaving a starbase or landing on a planet, going through.
Rapaziada, aqui já dá uma pitadinha do que a gente pode estar esperando, tá? Então, esse projeto Gallia aqui, por exemplo, vai ter algumas coisas que a gente ainda não viu, tipo ONI-CSS Land, por exemplo, Ownership, que é você ser dono da terra, né? E também os leilões que vão acontecer para os lotes. Então, não sei como é que isso vai funcionar exatamente, mas é bom você já ir salvando alguma graninha, que principalmente que você faz no próprio Star Atlas, para isso aqui. Quando chegar isso aqui, eu acho que vai estar bem concorrido, então é bom você ir, né, desde agora salvando alguma grana para poder participar disso aqui, tá?
Atmosphere. This is really, really hard to do. There's multiple combat systems being added and mission boards. It incorporates our ONI Central Space Station. That's one of the 3 factions across Star Atlas, which is a megacity and social hub for social behavior as well as commercial activity. And the big release that's up and coming on this is adding land plot selection. So a bunch of you out there probably own land plots on the CSS. You're going to be able to go in and pick your specific parcel of land, whether that's next to a beach somewhere or next to a bustling market center. We actually have a great presentation with Brad Warren on our team later today with a deep dive into Gallia. And I have a video here to showcase all of the features that we have coming up.
Já começou na F4, né?
The fastest way to know if something will work for you is to try it. Learn to proceed without certainty. Life doesn't come with a trial period or a money-back guarantee. There's no GPS for your journey, no step-by-step guide to becoming who you're meant to be. Every day, you're writing a story without knowing the ending. You can spend years theorizing, planning, and preparing, but until you take that first step, it's all just speculation. As Søren Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. You can't wait for certainty to start living, because by the time you're certain, the moment has passed. Certainty is an illusion. Even the surest things in life can change in an instant. Proceed without certainty. Let go of the need to know everything.
Rat, listen to me carefully. Go back to Ryoki. Keep the gut safe. Don't trust the elders. Don't find you.
Sir, I did not follow you. Repeat.
Isso aqui é bacana. Prestem atenção nisso, porque esse aqui a gente nunca tinha visto. Novo mapa, grande, né? Bem grande, acima das nuvens. Ó. Olha a altura disso aqui, mano.
We dream what we might become.
get to go into galactic.
I'm pretty psyched. Also, remind me not to get on the other side of Dominic's sniper rifle, because that was savage. All right, and the final component of Preseason is Fleet Command. Now, Fleet Command brings in our fully on-chain game logic and galactic economy from Sage, the 2D game, into Unreal Engine 5, and it ultimately becomes the foundation of open-world mining, crafting, logistics, and freighting systems in the MMO. To me, one of the coolest components of Fleet Command is that it really showcases and demonstrates how Star Atlas has the ability to go from macro scale to micro scale. So you can choose to manage entire fleets, RTS style, or seamlessly enter the cockpit, explore the interior of your ship, and get into thrilling space battles in first-person shooter mode. We have a video for that as well.
Ficando bonito, hein?
A cosmos in which we can explore. In which we have agents.
Essa transição aí, né? Assim, ele guiou a nave para um local específico e aí teve essa transição. Não sei. Não viajei muito nessa transição, não. Mas, vamos ver, né? As coisas funcionam com evolução. Vamos ver se isso evolui para uma coisa melhor. Eu imaginei também, tipo, se você estiver indo de um lugar para o outro, por exemplo, se às vezes a gente passa o quê? 1 hora no subwarp, pô, a gente pode se divertir vendo o espaço, né? Tipo, você tá viajando a sua nave, aí você muda a perspectiva, entra na perspectiva da tripulação, e aí você vai ver todo o universo passando, você vê outras naves passando do seu lado. E, cara, isso aí seria fantástico, né? Eu acho que está um pouco longe disso acontecer, mas vamos ver.
We finally get to go into galactic.
Preseason is going to be awesome. We're going to start accepting signups to that soon. I want to talk a little bit here just about tech. Again, looking forward to the future. As I said, Star Atlas has the potential to have a global audience, 8 billion people around the world. There's many different motivations to get involved, which could include the potential to participate in new labor markets. It's really imperative that we simplify the onboarding experience and enable participation at every level across the game. And so this is going to consist of both technology solutions and financial inclusion. So on the technology side, we know not everyone has access to a high-end gaming PC, and we are moving a lot of our content into Unreal Engine 5. So how do we accomplish the goal of making sure it's accessible to everyone? Well, we've been doing a lot of work with various DPIN networks, pixel streaming and cloud gaming companies like Shaga, like Yom, like Aether, to ensure...
Atenção para esse Aether, tá? Projeto bom.
The Star Atlas is streamable to every device all over the world, whether that's mobile or a lower-end desktop PC. We're also working on wallet abstraction. It's a sensitive subject for me, but wallet abstraction is moving the wallet setup process back a bit in the user experience. So you can experiment with the game without having to go through the process of setting up a wallet and securing your seed phrase right up front. And of course, if you do that, you're still going to be able to claim your resources or any income that you've made later if you decide to set up that wallet.
Então, o que ele falou aqui, né? Os novos usuários, em um período posterior a esse, né? Vão conseguir entrar no Star Atlas sem precisar fazer todo o processo de criação de carteira e tudo mais. Eles vão progredir e aí, se eles quiserem transformar isso em renda para si próprio, eles vão ter que passar aí pelo processo de fazer a carteira, anotar as palavras e tudo mais, e patati patatá, que a gente já fez, né? Então, eu acho interessantíssimo isso aí, porque o cara vai ver ele progredindo, vai fazer as quests, vai se divertir, e aí quando ele vê, pô, tem, sei lá, $20 me esperando pra eu sacar. Para eu ter acesso a esses $20, né, com todos os benefícios aí dos NFTs, por exemplo, ele upa uma tripulação, ele consegue minerar, ter acesso a uma nave e tudo mais. Para ele ter acesso a isso tudo, ele vai precisar fazer uma carteira. E nada mais incentivador do que você ter uma grana te esperando só para você fazer, né, o processo de criação de carteira e tudo mais, para você ou sacar ou fazer o compound, né? Investir em coisas maiores, em uma nave maior, uma tripulação mais rara, uma tripulação mais upada e tudo mais. Eu acho interessante isso aí.
I really think that we also have a massive opportunity here to gamify the education process because, you know, we have a really fun gameplay experience here and game missions, and so ultimately we can encourage self-sovereignty. Other than that, adding easier methods for non-crypto natives to get into the game, and that's through our partnership with Uphold and Topper. We're adding Topper ATMs throughout the game so you can easily cash on-ramp into the game or off-ramp from the game. And finally, we're providing non-economic, free-to-play access points to the game with our own dedicated network, AtlasNet, as some of you know it, or Apollo, as we'll refer to it going forward, where you can bootstrap an account with a single click to start experimenting with the game. And on the financial inclusion side, I'm extremely excited to announce that we have a fleet rental system rolling out. This has been in partnership with groups like GG
Isso aqui é grande, viu?
specifically led up by Forged, as well as a couple of Shadow Loyalty members. You guys may know some of the Sly Labs tools. So Groove and Anthony have been working on this. And this gives users the ability to get into the game easier with a lower cost barrier to entry. And we'll be adding pay over time options to that as well, so you can essentially finance ships and use the earnings from that ship to pay it off over time. On the economic side, we're adding...
Isso aí, rapaziada, a gente vai ver tipo um score da vida, tá? No score você não fazia as tarefas lá de repor munição, toolkit, combustível, etc. Então, essa parte aí de aluguel de frota, né? Você vai ver mais ou menos ali o painel um pouco parecido com o que era o score, né? Como é ainda, né? Então, é meio que uma substituição que eles estão desenvolvendo junto com o Sly, por exemplo, que a gente tem, né? Já para fazer a automatização dos nossos processos, a gente vai ver uma plataforma sendo criada para aluguel de frota. Então, se você tem aquela... Por exemplo, eu tô com 2 ON parada. Por quê? Quer dizer, eu tava até ontem. Tava parado, deixei parado uns 3 dias aí, porque eu não tinha muito o que fazer com ela. Ela não é muito boa para eu juntar com a tripulação de mineração. Eu tava ainda fazendo, né, os produtos para levar de um lado para o outro, craftando, e aí as ONs estavam paradas. Então, isso aí ia servir muito, né, para eu não deixar essas ONs paradas, né, fazer o aluguel aí de 1, 2, 3 dias que seja, para a galera alugar e aí eu não deixar parado, mesmo que ela tenha serventia em alguns aspectos.
A deeper focus on specialization, some more options for players of all sizes.
Especialização é
moving beyond the
bom,
loyalty point system
excelente.
of Sage today and adding in fixed earning opportunities, more robust peer-to-peer
Ele cita
trading,
ganhos fixos aqui também, vamos ver como é que isso
additional
funciona.
crafting options, and more that I'll be talking about shortly. And we're
Claro, Maverick, empresta sim.
also going to reduce the transaction count through various passive game modes. These are going to be RNG enabled or randomness enabled. So smaller players can earn higher proportional rewards as they play. And then adding enhancements to our Atlas locker with more benefits like fleet rental, fee discounts, recipe unlocks, discounted crafting fees, and more. We want people that are earning Atlas and saving that in the locker to have even additional benefits. And today, which marks the 1-year anniversary of the Golden Carnival. Maybe some of you don't know that.
Olha
Some of us
quem
do remember that with
voltou.
fondness. We used this to kick off Sage 1 year ago. You essentially craft golden tickets from the game, using resources from the game. You'd enter those into a weekly raffle, and you'd have a chance to win ships, halves, crew, and more. Well, in celebration of the 1-year anniversary, we are doubling down on this. We're going to run it as a promotion for the next 4.
Cara, isso é... Não sei se eu gosto disso na realidade, tá? Porque, beleza, 4 milhões de dólares, brilha o olho de qualquer um, sorteio, né? É uma parada que, sei lá, não sei. Vai atrair muita gente e especuladores, principalmente, mas, assim, vocês lembram, né? Da última vez que a gente passou por essa etapa de Golden Ticket? E a gente ficou, que eu fiz, inclusive, grande parte da cobertura, dos sorteios e tudo mais. E, cara, eu não cheguei a ganhar nada. Não cheguei a ganhar absolutamente nada. E é uma parada que meio que frustra, né? Quem tá no ecossistema realmente e quer evoluir e tal. Mas vamos ver como é que vai ser esse sistema de sorteio atual. Provavelmente vai ser igual ao passado, né? Esses 4 meses aqui me assusta também de uma forma que é meio que um tapa-buraco, talvez, esse Golden Ticket, né? Por falta de conteúdo mesmo, cara, esses 4 milhões de dólares não poderiam estar em alguma coisa no ecossistema, tipo, porra, faz uma missão na Unreal Engine 5 que seja mais, que com certeza vai ser mais demorada que o que a gente tem de ganhos no Sage, mas que possa proporcionar esses 4 milhões de ganhos aí, né, distribuídos entre os players na Unreal Engine 5. Então, como eles não vão poder fazer isso por falta de avanço de tecnologia, de avanço de roadmap, eles estão fazendo de sorteio. Vamos ver, né? Ter seus lados bons, seus lados ruins, não acho tão interessante não, porque não é um ciclo econômico que me anima.
4 months with over $4 million in rewards going out to players. So I really want to say a huge thank you to the team for all the work that's going into this. A huge thank you to the community here. I've never been more excited about the future of Star Atlas. We've been through the worst, and we're here today. And I can't wait for you all to experience what we have coming in the future. I am going to leave you just with a little teaser of part 2 of the cinematic. Thank you.
Um pequeno cinematic, né? Mas que indica muita coisa, né? O planeta atacando, ou não sei se é um planeta, se é uma nave titã ali, parece uma tufa titã, né? Atacando ali a Central Space Station. E isso significa que a Central Space Station pode ser destruída. E claro que avançando muito mais no futuro, onde vão existir mais de uma, mas isso aqui revela algumas coisas mais de longo prazo, né? Não vai nem mexer com isso, né, Rodrigo? É isso mesmo. Eu vou transmitir, né? Fazer aquele comprar alguns pouquíssimos Golden Tickets só para fazer parte ali da interação, o conteúdo, o famoso conteúdo, que vocês já sabem, já acompanham. Mas também não vou ir a fundo também com Golden Ticket não, tá?
All right. I know you guys.
Então, interessante aí essa apresentação, mostrou várias coisas que já aconteceram, alguma palhinha do que está para acontecer também. A gente vai agora pular para a parte econômica, né? Com o Chris, a gente já, inclusive, ouviu o Chris várias vezes durante esses anos aí do canal, vários eventos, Economic Paper, na verdade, Economic Paper não, os reports, né? Economic Report, tudo mais. E é sempre interessante ouvir eles falando, né?
The pleasure of working with me on a pretty regular basis. How are you doing today?
Oh, I don't know. Apparently some guy was talking earlier, showing a bunch of loud, pictures or everything. So I wasn't there, but I heard.
This is legitimately the banter that goes on back and forth behind the scenes. Yeah. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. You've been working with the team for a couple of years now. Incredible hire for us. We've got some great things to talk about with the Sage economy and really just Star Atlas economy going forward. But for anyone out there that isn't familiar with you, what should they know?
Yeah, so I started working in Web3 gaming in particular about midway through a PhD in economics. Finished that up, and one of the first things I did was start working at Star Atlas. So been here for just over 2 years, and yeah, it's been really incredible to literally craft the Sage economy from scratch and see it go live and just see all of the players, and especially at events like this, be able to see the faces of the people who make the Star Atlas economy work.
Yeah. Yeah, so most people, my assumption is a lot of people, when they hear the term economy, they're thinking a lot about, particularly in Web3, thinking a lot about kind of the financial side of things, or they're thinking about the money side of things. But game economy actually touches a lot of directly the game development and gameplay mechanics. Maybe you can inform people a little bit more about where else are you involved and how else do you impact things like balance across the entire game?
Yeah, so I think you hear Web3 game economist and you think tokenomics, financialization, lockers, this type of stuff, which are all things that we have in Star Atlas, but we also have an extremely robust video game economy. Full commodity markets, players are producing and crafting and consuming all of these unique items in our game, and it's all fully on-chain. So yeah, there's a bunch of unique characteristics to Star Atlas that aren't present in a lot of other games. That on-chain feature, a lot of games will just have really Web 2 assets in their game. So if you're crafting some item or some potion, it's just actually a Web 2 asset, and it's not really actually on-chain. Versus Star Atlas, where we have an entire commodities market with dozens and dozens of items that you can mine, craft, and consume that are each represented on-chain. Each one of them is an SFT. So there's a lot of challenges that come with that because we can't just reset the server or reset everybody's account if something bad happens. So if prices start to go down, we can't just hit the replay button. We do have to work with everything in a permanent way. So that's why we move pretty slowly with the economy. We make sure that we've got enough data to work out, what's the best thing to do, how do we solve this problem. So yeah, it's a very robust game economy. And I will mention, just because I've been chatting with so many community members, the economy definitely, it goes outside of just Sage and Star Atlas. You've got AFIA, you've got Rome, you've got GG Collective, all these incredible guilds that are doing economic things. They're creating markets outside of our game economy. So yeah, it's a massive ecosystem.
So I want to make sure that credit is appropriately applied here. Game systems design and Chip and Brad, they do a lot of work on things like modular balance of, say, how the ships work, but you're also involved in this process, or at least collaboratively working with them on these types of systems as well that has nothing to do with money, but like how does a module impact the way that a ship performs, right?
Yeah, so yeah, exactly right. While I do a lot of, okay, how much should this system produce and how much should it consume? if there's some certain action, and I make sure that that balance is right. We have an incredible design team who's actually coming up with, okay, how should people move? How do they move around? What are the actions they can do? Scanning, mining, crafting, what are those recipes? What are the different items? So I like to think of myself as the person who comes up with all the numbers, and the design guys are the ones who actually create the interface.
And those numbers have proven to be performing quite well, at least from a sustainability standpoint, which is really one of the core tenets of Star Atlas. It's, we talk about it all the time because we've seen a lot of game economies fail, or not even over a long term, but over relatively short periods, just catastrophic collapse. But with sustainability being such a core tenet of Star Atlas, where does one, how do we achieve that, and two, where does the role of specialization, do you think, kind of come into all of that?
Yeah. So a couple of questions there. I think a lot of game economies, especially in Web3, like I said,
Isso é importante,
it's
viu?
permanent. You can't go back.
There's no undo button.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, there's no undo button.
Control Z, everybody, if you can. Go on.
So a lot of companies, what they end up doing is they'll mint 3, 4 tokens, and basically just replace the old one. And in fact, they'll say like, oh, it's a token, but it's actually Web 2, because they do want to have that undo button. But so we've had pretty great success with Sage. It's been out for a year. I want to say the anniversary is today. September 21st is when we released it. And we've gone through a lot of changes. Initially, we started with the Golden Carnival, this kind of relatively quick, punchy economy where people are crafting these tickets that they can turn in for a random prize. And then we switched over to RFRs, which were a fixed amount. So you craft this item and you get a fixed amount of Atlas. An effectively uncapped amount of Atlas could be produced in a single day. And then we finally moved to what we have today, star-based, we call it. And that's where there's a fixed amount of Atlas that's emitted every single day, and people have to vie for that fixed Atlas. And they get a proportional share based on their efforts for that day. So we've gone through a lot of transitions, and there are transitions, the economic transitions from even before Sage. And the key kind of design tenet that I use for like the econ side, first of all, I should mention, I do a lot of simulations. It's excellent to have data. So we were able to collect a ton of data from RFRs before implementing true Atlas emissions in the game. So using data and data analytics and simulation is one of the key ways to make sure you're creating a sustainable game economy. But the other thing is, especially when I'm working with the designers and we're coming up with these systems, consumption always comes first. It's not what should we emit, it's what should we consume. Every single action in the Star Atlas economy, except for like unloading and loading cargo, consumes something. So we always think about what is this action going to cost the player. And we start with the cost, and then we look at the production. And that helps us create really stable production and consumption in the economy, which leads to stable prices.
So this was not on the question set, but you just mentioned something, what does it cost the player? And it just made me think about, the DAO. And a lot of game economies, there is kind of this, in traditional game economies, there can be a hyperinflation of assets, and it doesn't really matter because there's no interaction or exchange between players. But I think what's really cool about Star Atlas is this capture of the transaction cost that's going to the DAO. And now I don't, there's a lot of different ways that we can do that, and I'm not so sure that there's a question here, but curious to get your thoughts on, it becomes a sink, but it also becomes a capture of value for this decentralized entity.
Yeah, one of the most powerful mechanics that came from Sage, we didn't even I don't think I realized how big of a deal it was going to be, is crafting fees. So every single time you craft at a facility, you have to pay a fee in Atlas. There were a number of reasons why we implemented this, and one of them was give utility to the token. But what we ended up doing was we actually ended up creating probably, by almost an order of magnitude, the most revenue that the DAO had gotten ever, pretty much. So the DAO gets a portion of Galactic Marketplace transaction fees. So if somebody trades something, the DAO gets 2% of the value of that trade. When they're crafting something, they also pay a 7% market value fee to the DAO. And the DAO, I think it gets about 7 times as much revenue from that crafting fee than it does from the Galactic Marketplace, which is kind of spectacular because it means that the DAO is now fully funded, basically. I mean, it can, and we see with the competition going on outside right now, that was funded by the DAO. So they have all this, this awesome architecture that we're building. So yeah, we've got the fees for crafting, and we have a lot of fun, exciting stuff coming up, thinking about other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a way, it's not just a total destruction of value, which I'm largely against personally, but we're not just taking stuff out of the game, it's actually creating value for this other entity. It's still a token sink, and it has future potential value. But just on the note of sustainability, this should be obvious, but how does sustainability benefit the Star Atlas ecosystem and our player base?
Yeah, I mean, number one, retention. Players, especially, I was talking to someone earlier, it almost feels bad to use the word player because our players are such robust. I mean, they're economic agents. They're citizens of this digital nation state. So those people, they're not going to feel comfortable putting their finances or their financial, capital into this game because it is it's a game that has a cost to play, which is actually a very important feature. But they're not going to do that if they don't trust us. So having a sustainable economy, having Sage being run for so many months now without really any issues, obviously we've had our fair share of hiccups, but we've been able to overcome those. That's super important for people feeling comfortable. We've got all these guilds here that have placed confidence and trust in us, and keeping that is extremely important.
Yeah, I think if it was the real world, so volatility can be a great thing, and for people that are really more speculators in the crypto space, the volatility is good because you can kind of bet and gamble, but if your salary changed by 90% month to month, that becomes very difficult to budget and plan around, and so stability and sustainability creates a lot of certainty for our players.
Yeah, exactly, and it's that certainty which is, these economic structures can be built from.
Yeah. So,
então, o que a gente... Eita, calma aí.
Well, actually...
O que a gente tem, né, no Sage atualmente que pode dar uma certeza pra gente de alguma renda, né? A gente tem a construção aí das Starbases, então a Starbase, ela funciona ali como um catalisador pra gente conseguir renda, né? Isso vai depender de quê? Dos ativos que estão lá pendentes para serem colocados na Starbase, por exemplo. Tem lá o framework, tem Power Source, tem alguns tipos de materiais que a gente usa, né? Então, por exemplo, o Electromagnet, ele costuma acabar, tipo, quando a Starbase ela for atualizada, costuma acabar em um dia ou 2. E isso já tira um pouco da estabilidade, por exemplo, de alguém que só está fazendo Electromagnet. Outra coisa, Power Source. Power Source acaba esgotando, sei lá, uns 5 dias, 4 dias, de 4 a 6 dias depois. Outra coisa também, o Electronics, vem logo em seguida. E aí por aí vai, até chegar no framework. Então, isso é que a gente tem aí de certeza, né? Tipo, se você quiser ficar aí uns 5 dias tendo essa renda, né, da próxima Starbase que for criada, for upada, você vai ter essa certeza aí de que você vai ter uns 6 dias aí que você vai ficar nutrindo a Starbase com o seu recurso, tá? Então, acabou isso aí, parte para outra. Acabou, parte para outra. E com o passar do tempo, vai ficando mais custoso você fazer isso. Por quê? Porque, por exemplo, no meu caso, eu estou alocado na MRZ4. Aí, às vezes, a MRZ3 está com esse gap aí. Aí, beleza. Eu vou colocando o Electromagnetic. Aí, daqui a pouco acaba. Aí, eu vou ter que ir para a MRZ8. Aí, eu vou ter que tirar de um lugar, ir para outro, mover todos a tripulação para fazer o craft e tudo mais lá na MRZ8. Daqui a pouco fecha esse gap. Eu vou ter que ir lá para a MRZ9. E por aí vai. Então, cada vez vai ficando mais custoso e mais imprevisível, talvez, de você ter essa renda fixa, né? Eu tô fazendo aqui o Electromagnet, só que eu sei que daqui a 3 dias, 2 dias vai acabar. e aí eu vou ter que ir para outro Starbase, aí eu vou ter que ir para outro. O desafio deles é fazer com que tenha um piso ali de certeza, certeza entre aspas, porque criptomoeda nunca é certeza, né? Mas que você tenha um piso ali de certeza que vai ser condizente com o que você faz para o ecossistema. Ou seja, eles estão planejando aí voltar os RFRs, justamente eu acredito que para ter esse piso estabelecido, onde que os players menores não fiquem correndo de galho em galho, né? Onde a gente não só dependa de toolkit sendo instalado, porque quando acaba um toolkit, para as operações. Então, também tem esse nível aí de incerteza atualmente, né?
I won't say outside of the economy. How do you think Star Atlas is really different from other Web3 game, well, specifically economies, actually?
Yeah, I mean, these types of questions, it's easy to accidentally throw shade. So I don't want to throw shade, but really they are one of the only Web3 games that specifically hired a professionally trained economist and a team of economists. Obviously, we're smaller now than we were 2 years ago, but we have a world-class, like really world-class, I'm not just saying that, team of data team, basically. Our data engineer, Daniel, and my analyst, Gareth, working with them is really, like, we have an incredible real-time data pipeline. We're seeing things as they happen, and we can react if necessary. And then obviously you kind of have me making sure that everything's healthy and being able to adjust. One of the realizations I've come to in the last year since we released Sage is that economy, especially digital economy, is not always straightforward. There's no magic formula. You can't just press a button and everything's going to work. So being able to react and use kind of the principles that we've been using for hundreds of years in markets, that's extremely important to the success of the project. So I really do think, just in terms of the raw talent that we have on the team, that is what differentiates us. But again, going back to the more kind of gameplay economics, the consumption side, making sure that we're consumption first, we're thinking about how can these processes be cyclical as opposed to this never-ending fire hose that's just constantly spitting stuff out. So I think between the design principles of consumption and then obviously just a world-class team, that's what differentiates us.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, I don't know of any other Web3 teams that are putting out quarterly state of the economy reports. I mean, some of the data that I used in the presentation just before this was, things like GDP and how promising GDP is as a measure and a metric. And I think some of the values have kind of tapered over the last couple of quarters, but when we were looking at annualized Q1 data, it was like the per capita GDP exceeded, something like some of the upper 70th percentile, I want to say.
Yeah. So and that's another important thing. We're developing metrics, slightly off topic, but we're developing metrics that have never been developed before. Mm-hmm. We're coming up with new ways to look at economies, especially these digitized economies. And with that, comes, obviously you talked about market volatility. So, it's really interesting to work with these new and fun metrics, but also markets that are going crazy. But still, 15 million to date for GDP is pretty impressive. Like, we're not quite at what we were in March, our projections, but still really, really killing it.
I completely agree. In particular for that product, which is performing very well. We haven't seen a ton of growth out of Sage, but we just talked about Fleet Command coming out, and kind of excited to see where that goes and how the economy expands from there. So what are the downsides, though, to this like real world, real financial incentive model that we have?
Yeah, I hinted at it earlier. It's tougher to work with it because it's permanent. There's not, you can't just hit that reset button. But yeah, volatility is a gift and a curse. Volatility gives you liquidity. It gives you, the potentially, it's almost a marketing thing, where you have people who come and explore the game because maybe they saw the token or the NFTs or something on, TensorSwap, and they say, oh, what's this? But it also comes with downsides. We know from our own research, our internal research, that, and we've researched this across multiple projects, that token price is almost, I would argue, causal predictor of daily active users, and a lot of it just comes down to the fact that a lot of these players are, I mean, we saw the metrics earlier, $15 a day on average, earnings, gross earnings. You think about players that are on the margin of profitability, and once that price goes down a little bit, profitability, they fall out of profitability. So it's something where stability is good. We like stability for that purpose, but yeah, the volatility comes with the territory of having a much more robust, much more expansive economy than we would if we were closed, like something like EVE Online.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about asset values, because we have kind of a parabolic curve between our various asset types. Now, from inception, the goal is how do we satisfy demands from a wide variety of users? And again, I was speaking about this earlier, but the idea that we believe we have the potential for a global audience, that means that you need to be able to satisfy like the very, very smallest buyer of an asset, but you also want to be able to provide an asset for the whales, so to speak, the larger wallets in the ecosystem. But even beyond that, our asset pricing is well beyond anything you would see in a traditional game. And let's put assets aside just for a moment, but you'd spend $50, $60, maybe $80 for a game. If you look at something like Star Citizen, you see spaceships that go up to $1,000. We have multi-million-dollar ships. So let's talk about how do we justify that? Why are people buying them? Because we sold these assets too.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is our players aren't dumb. They're buying them for a reason. And the simple answer is you spend $10,000 on a ship in Star Citizen and you've spent $10,000. It's gone. Right. You're never going to get it back. And if your account somehow gets deleted or lost, or there's some sort of damage to the database, you've lost your ship too. In Star Atlas, that's not the case. We have a robust marketplace for every single ship. And players who buy ships can rest assured that they will always be able to sell that ship back into the marketplace. So it really creates an interesting ecosystem. It also allows players to buy a ship perhaps below that posted origination price, which is a really cool feature. So obviously the ability to sell it back is going to automatically raise the spending bar. The other thing is that these things are used in Sage, our economy game, and they produce a huge value to the players. You could have, let's say you bought a ship for $100 and it goes down to $70. We don't think about our NFTs like, our ships like, a Bored Ape Yacht Club or something like that. They're actually producing output for the players every single day. So you might see that go down in price, but you've actually made quite a bit of money on it because you were using it. I think of Star Atlas ships more like a Caterpillar tractor or something like that than I do, Mona Lisa.
Completely agree, and I think you mentioned capital assets, right? These are capital assets. I mean, the people that are purchasing these ships are, in one way or another, they are an entrepreneur in our game. And that's not even to speak to kind of the outside innovators that are also building around our ecosystem, but they're utilitarian in nature, and they're really cash flowing assets. So let me actually just dive a little bit deeper into that back on the specialization track, because there's a lot of different asset classes that you can buy as well. And part of what we talk about a lot is in terms of creating sustainability. Well, there needs to be a degree of specialization, because if everybody can do everything, then where's the demand for transactions? And ultimately the idea is Star Atlas is not this hyperinflationary economy that's based on token emissions. That's a subsidy, and that's helpful, but we want players to specialize and trade with one another. And so, can you kind of elaborate on how these different systems throughout the game over time, because they're not there today. We're still working on game systems as well, but over time, how you see these evolving in a way where that person that's mining hydrogen and crafting fuel actually is producing a sustainable life for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually gotten into arguments with my game economist friends about, what does it mean to be a game economy, to be a real economy in a digital world? Some people argue that Candy Crush isn't an economy, and some people argue it is. And I'm on the camp of Candy Crush is not an economy. I think you need trade. I think you need interaction for there to be an economy. You need a market. And especially for a project like Star Atlas, I mean, Automata is the publisher. We're producing this content, and we need to be able to monetize it. And so one of the ways we do that is, hey, the more successful this economy is, the more successful we are. Secondary market revenue, is really critical to that vision. So the more people are interacting with each other, the more innovation, the more trade that's going on, whether that's production in the Sage economy or trading on the marketplace, that's generating value for us, and it's generating value for our players. It's also, it supports the prices. If everybody was able to do everything, like you said, there'd be no reason to trade. There'd be no reason to interact with anybody. And what makes an economic game fun is this interaction, being able to arbitrage, being able to exploit, problems in the system and fixing or, filling that gap in the market. So yeah, I mean, specialization is one of the top priorities, and we're always thinking about different ways we can create different, different careers. And you mentioned hydrogen. I mean, you could have effectively two different types of careers that both involve mining an asset from the environment. It's a very different experience to go mine, one of our more rare, like Arco or something like that, one of our more rare items versus hydrogen. Hydrogen happens to be at the CSS, the central location, so you don't have to really travel. So there's less of a freighting, gameplay there. So that even that subtle difference creates two completely different careers effectively. So the more of that there is, the more robust and solid the economy will be.
And career is such a great term there too, because we are thinking ahead about, obviously we do a lot of work, and you specifically do a lot of work on the Sage economy right now, but thinking forward about, what about the people that are playing Surge, or the people that are getting into combat racing or hover racing? There's consumption of resources in those game modes as well, and there's going to be emissions of some sort, but that could be a career. You could, effectively be a militant of some sort in Surge if you want to consider yourself that. But you're still a part of that society, this cyber nation that's being formed, and you're still participating in the economy or purchasing from people who are focused on logistics systems, crafting, mining, etc. Any other exciting careers that you think are going to emerge from all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to start designing out the economics of UE5, all the entire suite of UE5 products. Obviously, we'll have Sage in UE5 in Fleet Command, but also, Surge, like you talked about, racing. There's a lot of exciting stuff there we can do. Obviously, R4 economy comes to mind, putting even more consumption of R4, and thus even more incentive to produce it, perhaps in Sage. So we could have sinks and faucets in these other UE5 products. It's like, is it over? But yeah, so I'm just excited for all the new products. Every single time we come out with a new product or a new game mode or something like this, it introduces a lot of exciting opportunities. And that's probably the one thing that's lacking in Sage right now is this, we call it twitchy gameplay sometimes, but this like skill-based effort. Like, hey, if I beat somebody in the tournament later today, I'm going to get, what is it, like $12,000 in Atlas or something like that, or
5,000, yeah. You're going a little crazy, Chris, but yeah, 5,000, yeah.
And the Dial's funding it now. Or no, that's Nabathon. So you introduce this into the economy, and it's awesome because it's A, another career. B, it's a totally new entry point. Right now, we'll fully admit that Sage is it's a gameplay mode for people who have, large fleets, who are able to, focus on, massive production of these goods. So this is an opportunity to introduce somebody to the game, and maybe they buy, a $2.50 crew member, a $5 ship off the secondary, and there you go. For $7.50, you can start competing in these races. So. Yeah, it's really exciting, and we innovate so fast, or we produce so fast at this company that, like, who knows what we're going to be saying next year.
We have 15 seconds, and I want to ask one more question.
I didn't even know that was there.
Any prediction for where the GDP of Star Atlas can go over the next 5 years or 10 years? Big number.
I mean, think about it this way. Like, so we have 1,200 daily active users right now. If we had 12,000 daily active users, that 15, let's call it 20,000 GDP per year, that becomes 150,000 GDP per year. And
per user.
Per 150 million GDP per year. And I mean, that's eventually it's going to start to get up there in terms of like national, actual nations on Earth. So we'll see what happens. I expect great things.
I expect great things out of you, Chris. Thank you for joining me. It's been great having you here. Thank you, everyone.
Essa foi a participação do Chris. Fala, Fala, Nil, beleza? Rapaz, tô curtindo porque tá tendo informação, bastante informação, mas você viu, né? Esse papo aqui, da conversa com o Chris, não foi tão reveladora quanto eu esperava. Não foi aquela... Pô, vai vir uma parada surreal agora. Não teve. Mas, né? Teve todo um background ali que a gente já viu sobre o que o Star Atlas passou durante o tempo. Algumas coisas que a gente percebeu durante a apresentação do Michael, principalmente nessa apresentação aqui que a gente viu, né? O Michael colocando aqui alguns cinematics bacanas também. Mas até agora não teve realmente tantas coisas pro futuro, né? Ele citou ali os RFRs também, o Golden Ticket, algumas coisas assim, mas mais para tapa-buraco do que outra coisa, né? Então, vamos ver. Ainda tem mais coisa aqui pra ver. Espero que melhore.
As well. Thanks for all the support. But yeah, I mean, we have the founders panel. First time ever we have the 3 founders on stage together. It's amazing, and it's wild that it didn't happen before. How are you guys feeling about Impact Summit and being here all the 3?
Quando eles falam de game durar séculos, eles estão se baseando na tecnologia blockchain, que permite com que alguma coisa se perpetue durante toda a eternidade em termos teóricos, né? Na teoria, com uma blockchain bem desenvolvida, tipo... a gente tem o desenvolvimento de tecnologia de blockchain, por exemplo, de 2017 até agora, evoluiu pra caralho, evoluiu bastante, né? Daqui a 10 anos vai evoluir muito mais do que a gente já evoluiu de 2027 pra cá. E eu acho que quando eles falam do jogo durar séculos, se baseando justamente na tecnologia blockchain, na DAO. Então, tudo isso, como se falou, na utopia disso, realmente, um projeto ele pode durar pela perpetuidade, né? Porque pode trocar governança, pode trocar produtor, né? Os status, por exemplo, a Autômata, ela pode sair para entrar outro, enfim, pode fazer essa reformulação de tudo e o jogo continuar rodando, né? O que a gente conhece como perpetuidade atualmente por exemplo, como o servidor do jogo ele se baseia entre a Solana, né? Que é basicamente o servidor ali, e o... qual é? O que toda hora cai? Eu esqueci o nome. Mas, por exemplo, se cai ali o front-end do jogo, o back-end ele continua rodando, né? Que ele se baseia ali na Solana. Então, eu acho que é se baseando nisso que eles falam que o jogo aí vai durar para sempre, e tá.
Of you together.
I'm surprised that this is the first time we've all been on stage together, to be honest with you. I mean, that's kind of wild, almost 4 years in, but I think the event itself has been quite a success. It's super exciting to have the community out here with us, new people as well. I see some old faces.
Isso, exatamente. Quando a Starcom cai, o jogo ele continua rodando, né? E isso é se confiando também na Solana, né? A Solana ela precisa estar perpétua também, né? Então a Solana ela precisa estar perpétua para depois o jogo conseguir ficar perpétua, se alicerçando, né? Na blockchain, tecnologia blockchain e na DAO. Então tudo isso é extremamente certo. ainda tem a possibilidade de dar ruim, né? Como o jogo não conseguir ter a atração necessária. Mas contando com que blockchain dê tudo certo, DAO, tudo certo, e o jogo seja uma explosão, aí sim tem a possibilidade aí do jogo durar, né, décadas.
Metaphorically, I guess, or not, you know,
Tá meio doidão do meio? Vou ver.
Some old friends, let's put it that
our
way.
faces.
But yeah, what a, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I was talking with.
O do meio é quem aqui que se fala? Porque se for o Danny é meio assim, né? Ele é meio doidão assim, mas às vezes os caras que são crânio mesmo tem certa dificuldade, né? Por exemplo, se você for pegar o Vitalik, o criador da Ethereum, né? Ele não é aquele cara que você vai ver falando tipo, perfeitamente, não sei o que. Ele demora um pouco ali para reunir os pensamentos e depois falar. Mas tem muita gente que é muito inteligente, tipo, extremamente inteligente, que não tem essa habilidade aí de... Mas você vê que o pensamento do cara é outro nível, né? O pensamento do cara é outro nível, pô.
With Funcracker, I'm like, it's not really surreal seeing the community here with us because we love building in it so much that I can understand why other people love building in it. So it's like, it's kind of a shared kind of understanding about it and it just feels good. That's all I can say, yeah.
On stage with these guys is pretty big. I mean,
ele para de falar e continua aqui, ó. Como se ele estivesse falando, tá ligado? Tipo, na mente dele talvez ele esteja.
we've been meeting, 2 to 3 times a week?
Yeah.
Like for the last almost a decade now. And so, yeah, I mean, we've definitely gotten familiar with each other, but it's kind of wild that Star Atlas is 4 years old, 3 years old, and how much has happened to develop to kind of get to this point. So it feels good. It's just an evolution step.
I don't want to.
Ou seja, né? Se você tiver em um projeto que tenha um tipo de cara como esse aqui, que fica brisando assim, tá tudo certo. Tá tudo certo. Não tem problema, não. Contanto que ele seja o cara ali da criatividade, do pensamento. Ele é a visão do Star Atlas, então não tem como negar, né? A inteligência do cara. Às vezes o cara não tem como ter todas as habilidades ali de tudo, né? Às vezes o cara fala um pouco mais travado, fica viajando mesmo. Não tem problema, não.
Take your thunder because I think we'll talk about it. But I mean, yeah, outside of the almost 4 years now at Star Atlas, we've been building together since.
Mas você, na entrevista que teve antes, na verdade, um pouco antes aqui, que ele falou também aqui no começo, ele citou o Eve, né?
Early 2017, right? So coming up on 8 years here together. What I want to know is, can I formally be recognized as one of the Floyd brothers?
And of course, yeah.
I got to do a blood test, I think.
Well, I don't think that's going to go well, but...
I think we can get into that right now. Like, what's your story, guys? Like, how did you come together to build Star Atlas? Were you working together before? You said 2017?
Yeah, I mean, so I can start with kind of my side of the story. I think a lot of you know I started a company in 2016 called Tokes, or Multi-Chain Ventures, and this was a crypto and cannabis company. And you know, the idea was that there's this kind of disparate access to financial services for the legal cannabis industry in the United States because they're legal at the state level, illegal at the federal level.
Foi, eu percebi, ele falou do jogo que ele era cracuda e citou o Eve meio por cima assim, né? Falou de outro também, outros games, mas foi isso mesmo. Só tô observando vocês no chat, viu?
Level. So entities like banks and credit card companies, electronic payment processors, they would not work with cannabis businesses. And so we said, hey, you know, we have this self-sovereign method of storing assets, and we can build out some solutions that allows that industry to get access to
Tipo, por exemplo, eu citei aqui o Vitalik, né? Que é o criador da Ethereum, mas tem o Messi, mano. Messi não tem discussão, né? O cara é meio autista, assim, você vê que ele é meio autista, mas o cara é um gênio, né? Mesma coisa Vitalik, mesma coisa o Danny, tá?
A new form of financial services, and it was really the launch of that in late 2016, and then coming.
Tipo, pra não hypar o Eve, né? Que vai lançar o Closed Beta. Bota fé. Faz sentido. Mas, enfim, né? São mercados diferentes. Apesar do tema ser igual. Mas o Eve ele não tem a... Minha can caiu? Meu Deus. Eu acho que meu celular descarregou, rapaziada.
Coming across Eugene Lopin actually was I think he reached out to me, and he had a company that was called the Cannabis Hemp Exchange, and you guys happen to be co-founders of Checks, and I'm pretty sure we facilitated the first ever historical token merger of all time. And what we did was we took the Checks tokens and we burned those. We distributed out the Tokes token to those users, and we became one.
Vixe Maria, estourou tudo aqui. Eu vou dar uma consertadinha, mas vamos ouvir.
And it was at that moment that Jacob and Danny and Tokes and myself, we all came together, and we had spent years building multi-chain ventures and payment processing.
Tons of products.
Yeah.
Must have been like a few dozen that we built over those few years.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I have some fond memories of that time, and things were actually looking as promising as they had ever been in 2020. We had gone through this extensive work of getting legislation passed in the state of Nevada that would, in direct cooperation with the Nevada State Treasurer's Office, that would open a tokenized closed-loop financial ecosystem for the cannabis industry, where not only were payments enabled, but taxes could be paid. And I know we're here about gaming, and I'm trying to see how the audience is looking there. But we had this huge opportunity in front of us, and the pandemic hit. And it was like, and government shut down. And right as we were about to deploy our solutions and kind of grow that business, that opportunity evaporated on us. We ended up shrinking multi-chain ventures down to only the three of us remaining. And I had been dabbling in DeFi on the side, and we saw crypto gaming emerging. And where I will turn it over to you all is, I remember coming to you guys and saying, effectively, we should build a game, and we should integrate these things. And Danny, what I remember more than anything, man, was, and I'm probably shortening the timeline, but what I remember is you coming back within like a week with a 30-page game design document, and you're like, this is what we do.
That was before ChatGPT too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, man, you said it all. It's what I remember from Checks is when Eugene came to me and said, like, hey, we're talking to this guy at Torque's platform, and we're talking about the acquisition or merger, whatever it was, and he's like, here's the
top.
The offer.
Vamos conversar sobre isso, sim.
Look at the offer, and I'm like,
Closed bet.
Eugene's like, we got to negotiate. I'm like, what is there to negotiate? What was interesting to me was Mike. I didn't know him at the time, but it was you could see in the numbers and the way he's thinking about things. It was such a fair deal. It was a very conscientious deal. I'm like, dude, this guy is actually making a really great offer. Like, I don't know what you want to go back with. This is great. And to me, that told me, even without meeting him, that this is someone I could work with. Someone who will be easy to work with. Come to find out recently that we all had, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Myers-Briggs score, but we all had the exact same INTJ Myers-Briggs score, which is like rare on its own. And we find this out like years after working with each other, and we're like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense.
That's like similar personality traits, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Synergy, yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, and then when Mike had that moment where he says, hey, we're all gamers, let's make games. Why are we, making this fintech stuff? And it's, we're doing a great job with it, but we all really want to make games. And so then he basically tasked me with, coming up with a game that works. And so I looked at all the blockchain games out there, and there was just nothing quite hitting. And you know, I would talk with Jacob about throw ideas in like Discord and stuff. Like, hey, what do you think about like this territory conquest space game? And that was basically it.
Do you still have those texts?
Yeah, I do. I've actually screenshotted them and saved them. And then next I have a call with Mike, and we were still on like Slack. So like, I have a call with Mike, and it was that's all I had to say. Territory conquest, space game, and he's like totally pumped. That's it, you know. And then even after the call, he's like messaging me like, dude, I can't stop thinking about it.
It was instant, right?
Yeah.
Was it you, Danny, who came up with the name Star Atlas? Like, how did that
well, Mike came up with the name Atlas. We were going back and forth. I, as a good CPO should, did my research, right? Market fit research. Like, we got to start with Star. You know, Star Trek, Star Wars, Star Citizen, Star Field, you know. So we're just like, star this, star that. You know, if we're going to make a serious IP that's going to like spread into all sorts of multimedia, we want to have that star, top of the shelf look, right? And then Mike came back with Atlas. Like, everyone just named the game Atlas. And I was like, Star Atlas. And we all just kind of had that like twinkle moment where like,
it was sticky. Yeah.
Yeah, it stuck. And yeah, for many reasons, I can get why it works, but yeah, that's basically how it came down.
That's a great story. I love it. I love it. And Danny, you have been in gaming before, right? You have like 20 years of experience in gaming, like mostly, of course, Web 2 games. You used to work at Splitgate, if I am correct, right?
Yeah, Splitgate's my most recent one. It's a shooter. It's a mix of portals and it's shooting with portals. And then I got my start at Westwood Studios. The first game, it was actually the first space MMORPG was Earth and Beyond, first released one. It's funny because we were in the running with EVE Online at the time. And we're like,
it's fun to EVE.
Who's going to be first to market? And we were first to market, but they actually survived because, you know, they weren't being published by EA. It's a whole nother story. But yeah.
Zinger in there, huh?
Well, I'm just, if anyone knows the whole, you know, mafia of EA, like acquiring small studios and absorbing them when they don't hit like major goals, really hard to hit goals. And that's how I met a lot of people I worked with at EA. But yeah, it was like Space MMO, actually 22 years ago now, and then a few other MMOs, Sims Online, Warhammer, Ultima Online series. So I got a lot of experience in the MMO RPG genre, some shooters they mentioned, and 2 other shooters. Yeah, it's been a long time, but there was a middle period where Jacob and I went off and started building apps. Had like 30 different iPhone and Android apps and games. Did some enterprise stuff. This is related to Star Atlas because we did this dry goods logistics shipping platform, and it was kind of gamified, but it was an enterprise level platform. And so that had all the supply chain stuff, you know, similar that we're doing in Star Atlas. So we're bringing all these games together, kind of. So we have that, you know, galactic supply chain style game, economic game, mixed with the other, you know, MMO and the shooters, the racing, all that. So it kind of is like inevitable. And then with all the tech coming in at the same time, with Unreal 5 and the Solana, it just kind of felt the perfect time to go all in on a game like Star Atlas. It's like all the tech's here, it's available. It's even getting easier and easier for smaller teams to produce like really high quality stuff. So yeah, that's where Star Atlas was born, and we're just kind of going all in. That's how we do it.
Yeah,
there's a couple of things I want to touch on there. I mean, we talk about serendipity quite a bit, but let's first go back to Westwood. Coincidentally and ironically, so I grew up in Las Vegas. You guys originally lived in Hawaii, but ultimately moved to Vegas. You were working at Westwood at the time. I had a bunch of friends and Lanarchists that worked as game testers at Westwood. We never met each other then, but we were, we probably crossed paths a dozen times. Who knows, right? We're all about the same age, so I assume it was like all in that same era, which I just think is, really fascinating to look back at. But the INTJ. So the INTJ is the architect. That's how it's described, and it's somebody who's able to kind of compile and see the big picture of complex systems. And I think in so many ways we're all focused on our own category of the company itself and able to drive the architecture of that specific aspect of game development. Danny, obviously, on the game side. Jacob, one of the most incredible engineers and developers I've ever seen, working across the full stack and plus pioneering, blockchain development. But, just going back to serendipity, that this is a story I've shared before, but Star Atlas, you guys, do you remember the moment? I think we were on a call. I checked staratlas.com and it was available.
É que eu já vi, rapaziada, essa parte aqui, eles falam sobre o domínio do Star Atlas, como foi que aconteceu esse nascimento aí. A gente já viu, já passou por essa história, inclusive, né? Eu vou adiantar um pouquinho aqui para ver se a gente consegue ver outras coisas, né? Porque já tá ficando tarde, 2 horas e 21 minutos aí de live, bastante coisa. Vamos ver.
This builder, everything just kept going right at the right time. We had the right talent joining. They got it too.
Então eles reuniram aí os talentos, né? Muita gente talentosa mesmo, um projeto fenomenal. As artes perfeitas, me atraíram demais pro projeto, as artes dos personagens, das naves, da arquitetura do jogo em si.
It was almost too easy. And I kept sitting back like, nothing ever gets built this easy. Like, there's no way, like, nothing went wrong. And then, of course,
It didn't seem like it was going wrong when you were having those original meetings with nothing other than Sam Bankman-Fried.
Well, yeah. And then we had our...
Eles falando aqui que nada é construído tão fácil assim, né? Até que chegou o episódio da RefChecks.
And then we have our struggle moment. That's the story, right? Now you have the conflict that comes in, and
we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, guys. So everything came together for you guys to build the vision. Things are starting to move along, but you also had to build. You decided to build a game using crypto, right? So that was the first challenge that you were facing. Like, it's not a secret that gamers hate crypto, or they used to hate crypto. So that's a challenge that you had to take on, but you still decided to build using this tech. So what are you doing to change the way that people are perceiving this tech? How are you approaching that?
Pô, a legenda saiu, né? Mas a pergunta foi como é que eles estão lidando, né, com os gamers que passaram a ter um ranço da Web3 e como é que eles estão lidando aí para fazer esse comeback.
Well, I'll just say this. I mean, I think, yes, I think there's skepticism in the traditional gamer community for things like Web3. I've talked a lot on interviews about where that skepticism is derived. I think it has a lot to do with the evolution of monetization policies of game studios over time, where it almost seems like every time a new monetization strategy comes out, it's more and more exploitive of the user. It's like, how can we get more money from the user? And some of this is, I don't want to necessarily say good. It's not good exploiting the user, but if we think about live ops games where you're getting continuous updates and there's DLC and it's a title or an IP that you love, it's reasonable, to pay the studio to continue the development of that. And so what I think people perceive Web3 as though is it's a cash grab, or it's just a way to get more money from us, and where's the real value that we're actually getting out of it. And what makes it difficult is we don't have any, we have yet to see a title truly launch that has mainstream appeal, that not only convinces users that Web3 games can be real games. There is great content to be consumed, but we also can work on the other side of that equation, which is demonstrating, there is real value in having marketability of the assets that you purchase. And the fact that we're not locking a user in to buying something from us and never being able to trade it so that we can sell another asset to a new user, that is huge for the players. And now, to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, the idea that, say, Star Atlas assets go down in value, right? Well, that's kind of good for the next person that comes in should somebody decide to exit the game. The alternative is you have zero value intrinsically from day one as soon as you buy the game asset from the studio. So the simple fact that marketability exists, even with underlying volatility, I think is of tremendous value to the user. And obviously, I was just on with Chris in the keynote. We talked a lot about the idea of a cyber nation and the different ways to participate in all of this. But I'll turn it over to Jacob and Danny to speak maybe towards that actual content side of things.
Yeah, I've said this before, but I don't think all games need to be Web3. I think the bad taste in gamers' mouth is because, like you said, Mike, like some of these games just don't need it. I mean, I think obviously that Star Atlas is the perfect use case for this. The underlying galactic economy that we have makes it make sense. Where all the resources.
O Michael falou sobre como os estúdios, né, de games da Web3 funcionavam em relação aos seus players, né? Eles agiam, na verdade. Era mais uma forma de tirar dinheiro dos players, né, através de venda de assets e tudo mais. A partir de quando, por exemplo, o Star Atlas tem os R4 sendo produzidos e vendidos pelos próprios players, já dá uma dimensão diferente do que um player pode esperar, né? São ativos sendo vendidos pelos próprios players a partir da produção dentro do game. Então, isso é forte, né?
All the crafting, all the freighting, traveling, the whole supply chain being on chain. Now you have a game that people who like those supply chain games, have something to do, and then on the other side of that, what are you crafting for? Like, yeah, you can upgrade your own ships and have faster freighting and stuff like that. But there's a whole other type of games that normally probably wouldn't need it if it was just self-contained, like say the racing game. You need to go upgrade your hovercraft, and you need a new warp drive, new thrusters. So what do? Okay, you go to the local marketplace and in the game, and you're walking around on foot, just like any other RPG, and you're buying these items to upgrade your ship. But where do those items come from? It's not just in a normal game, just appear out of whatever. You just, add some numbers in the inventory and it's there in the shop. For this, now we have this P2P economy where players are the ones who are actually sourcing the original resources, freighting it to another station, crafting it, deciding what to craft based on, how many players are locally playing the racing game, and then delivering it to those marketplaces.
Fala, Rodrigão. Por que eu acho que essa entrevista é importante? Cara, esse aqui transmite a visão dos produtores do jogo, do Star Atlas, para o mercado, para os próprios jogadores, para o contexto que a gente está inserido. Então, lá atrás, quando eu escolhi o Star Atlas para ser o game que eu ia mais investir em NFT, né? Eu simplesmente vi qual era a visão do CEO, do Michael, para as mesmas coisas, para o projeto, para os players, para o contexto. Então, como é que a visão do cara que está por trás ali do projeto importa para você perceber caráter, para você perceber visão. Então, isso aí, além de criação de personagem, além de criação de nave, além de criação de estilo de jogo, é o mais essencial, porque quando eu vi o brilho nos olhos do Michael, a visão que ele tinha, eu percebi que, cara, se der merda, o cara vai fazer dar certo. E dito e certo, aconteceu. Deu merda na FTX e o cara deu a volta por cima ali com o projeto, fez algumas manobras para levantar fundos para continuar o projeto, rearrumou toda a visão inicial do Status para caber agora no orçamento que o Status tinha, para caber no contexto de mercado que agora a gente tinha pela frente. Então, tudo isso com a visão da primeira frase que eu vi o Michael falando, pela primeira entrevista que eu vi o Michael falando, pelo primeiro artigo que eu vi os caras escrevendo, pelo white paper, pelo economic paper, tudo isso dá uma conjuntura. Mas se você não tiver as pessoas que tiverem comprometimento com o projeto, não forem apaixonadas pelo projeto, né, não vai nada pela frente. Pode ser o melhor projeto do mundo, que se não tiver a pessoa lá encarregada e comprometida com o projeto, nada vai para frente. Então isso aqui é importantíssimo para a gente ver justamente o quão comprometido, qual é a visão que os caras têm daqui em diante, qual é a visão do Danny, por exemplo, o cabeça ali do Status, que tirou toda a visão do papel, e é isso. Isso é mais importante, por exemplo, para mim, do que um lançamento, um eventual lançamento que eles venham trazer, ou coisas do tipo, tá? Por exemplo, teve o projeto que a gente passou também, a gente que eu falo, o canal passou por esse projeto, que foi um projeto até brasileiro, que, cara, os produtores do projeto, eu vou lembrar o nome, eu sou meio difícil com o nome, mas vou lembrar. Enfim, os produtores do projeto tinham um podcast que eles faziam toda semana ali para fazer a atualização. Do nada, os caras saíram, deixaram só o engenheiro lá, o cara que realmente amava o projeto, e ele passou a tocar sozinho. Cara, quando os caras saíram e passaram a não fazer mais, nem ser associados mais com projetos, Universos, o nome, Universos, tá? Não ser mais associados ao projeto, que era o Universos, mano, pra mim ali eu vendi tudo, consegui lá meus 400, 500 dólares, acho que foi 500 dólares, cheguei a investir 160 dólares, saí com 500 dólares do projeto, porque, mano, se por melhor que o projeto seja, você vê lá, porra, esse projeto é top. Cara, se o CEO ou a galera que estiver lá não tiver comprometimento, você parar de ver o comprometimento deles com o projeto, acabou o projeto. Não importa se o projeto, o personagem do projeto for bonitinho, se o projeto na sua visão é legal, independente disso, acabou. Então é importantíssimo a gente ver essa galera falando, justamente para a gente renovar esse comprometimento da equipe que está fazendo o projeto com o projeto. Universos do Ivan, né? Da Fraternidade Cripto. Cara, eu sei que o nome do projeto é Universo. Investi, saí já. Pra mim ali, quando os caras pularam fora, eu também pulei. Esses próprios criadores do projeto pularam fora do projeto porque eu ficaria, tá ligado? Então, foi esse pensamento aí que eu fiz e foi muito acertado, meu Deus do céu. Comprei meu R8, feliz da vida, quer dizer, juntei esse dinheiro com outra grana que eu tava produzindo no status. Comprei R8, não me arrependo de nada. Pra mim ali, fez parte do processo. Tem até vídeo aí do universo no canal. Mas foi isso aí. Então, se os próprios criadores do projeto não estavam comprometidos, eu também não tinha nada o que fazer lá, tá ligado? Só ficou o cara que realmente estava comprometido e, tipo, exército de um homem só não dá muito, tá ligado? Tipo, os caras, enfim.
You know, all these things that we can do. It's got real cargo manifest to take it there. There's little fees you pay along the way, you know, that kind of thing. And then the whole thing's tied together on the blockchain. That's, you know, we don't have control over, like, you know, erasing things. And it becomes this whole, like, player-to-player exchange that different types of players can kind of vibe off each other and make a whole thriving galactic economy. So for our specific IP, I think it makes total, like, a lot of sense. I mean, it's kind of inevitable. And recently we saw eFrontier, and that didn't surprise me at all. Been following them through Project Awakening, and it's like, there's no way they wouldn't go to blockchain. You know, a couple of years ago, they were like, don't worry, guys, we're not going to go to blockchain on our main shard. I'm like, yeah, sure. They worded it just right to leave it open because it's inevitable. Anyone who knows the tech, and these guys are really smart. I mean, you listen to Hilmar talk, and I'm like, they're definitely going to come to the same conclusions, and they did, because honestly, it's the perfect use case for it.
Yep. I think it's a bell curve thing, Santi. Like, us, our community, we're kind of the proof that gamers love these types of games using Web3 tech. And yeah, we made some, pretty crazy commitments to pioneer it.
Rapaziada, vamos avançar um pouco mais aqui. Eles estão falando aí da criação do estátua, do primórdio. A gente já passou, inclusive, por todo esse processo aí. Vamos adiantar um pouquinho aqui, né? E vamos pra... Deixa eu ver se é legal a gente ir pra outro... Isso aqui, vamos ver se é isso aqui.
Open world, MMO, full-size planets and everything.
Esse cara aqui é o cara que faz essa parte de criação ali da Unreal Engine 5, né?
Unreal Engine. So, gonna be moving pretty fast today. We got a lot to go over. First thing, we have a big old chunky 12-minute vertical slice gameplay video that we're pretty excited to show you, and then we're gonna break down kind of.
Cara, se você der uma voltada aí na live, você vai pegar o futuro todo aí dos Atlas, tá? A visão da galera para o projeto, certo? E, cara, a visão o futuro dos Atlas vai ser continuar construindo. Agora, a visão que a gente tem, é uma coisa importante de se falar, a visão que a gente tem atualmente do Atlas vai ser diferente da visão que a gente vai ter no topo desse ciclo. Tá? A gente está em um período onde a gente passou por muito tempo aí de quedas infinitas aí, e só queda, passou pelo desastre aí da FTX. Então a visão ela foi mudando de tempos em tempos. Então você tem, por exemplo, você tem R$10 no seu bolso, a sua visão para daqui a um ano vai ser diferente de se você tiver R$1 milhão no seu bolso. Certo? Então, eu acredito que a visão ela vai se amplificar muito mais no pico aí do bull market, certo? Mas a visão de Atlas é se tornar um metaverso. E a definição do metaverso do Atlas é diferente do que foi implementada ao longo do tempo, né? Ao longo do tempo aí pelas pessoas. Então, tipo, o metaverso, para muita gente, tem a visão de metaverso, né, a partir de óculos de realidade virtual, através de hardware, tá? Então, se você tem um óculos de realidade virtual, você tem aquela esteira onde você pode andar e seu boneco anda, você tem ali aquelas paradinhas que você mexe e o seu boneco mexe lá. Para mim, e para um pouco também da visão de Atlas, isso aí não é um metaverso. O metaverso é justamente você ter um ambiente onde você tenha contato com gente de todo mundo, onde você tenha uma função econômica à parte de todo mundo. Ou seja, por exemplo, a gente está aqui no Brasil, a gente vive o metaverso do Brasil. O real é a moeda do metaverso do Brasil. A gente tem o presidente aí, que é o presidente do metaverso do Brasil. A legislação é a legislação do presidente do metaverso do Brasil. Os Estados Unidos, outro metaverso, tá? Esse metaverso pode se conectar. Se eu fizer uma viagem daqui do Brasil para os Estados Unidos, eu vou levar toda a experiência que eu tenho desse metaverso Brasil para os Estados Unidos. Ou seja, a moeda ela vai ser convertida, o presidente ele vai ser outro, as leis vão ser outras. Então, esses metaversos, né, estados são diferentes entre si. O metaverso que eu acredito e que eu acredito também que Atlas vai chegar lá é um metaverso onde todas as pessoas, eu do Brasil, alguém dos Estados Unidos, alguém da China, podem compartilhar a mesma função econômica, as mesmas legislações do metaverso Star Atlas, os mesmos meios de transporte, que são as naves do Star Atlas. Então, tudo isso forma um metaverso, que não é baseado, por exemplo, em equipamento, que não é baseado em óculos de realidade virtual, que não é baseado nem em VR, tá? Então, basicamente essa minha visão de metaverso. Eu acredito que é alinhada, inclusive, com a visão de metaverso dos Star Atlas, mas a gente ainda tem muito caminho para chegar, para trilhar, para chegar nesse ponto, mas a gente já tem aí uma economia girando há um ano, mais de um ano, e que pode dar uma palhinha do que vai ser, né, esse metaverso aí do futuro do Star Atlas, né?
And all the tech and gameplay that went into building it. So we're going to talk about nested level streaming, directional gravity, so you don't fall off the planets, subwarp travel, getting around planet to planet in our ships. We're going to talk about our efforts with ship AI via reinforced learning, machine learning, our new mission dialogue system, and finally my favorite planet tech. So we'll jump into this video. Couple caveats real quick. So this was created kind of as an R&D exercise to kind of flesh out these systems that we've been building. We wanted to do something cool with it. So it's not intended to be ever played by players. However, all the characters, the story, all the dialogue was written by our lore keeper, Jose. So it is all canon, and the story is lore, and it leads right up to season 0. The environments were all created like by myself. I am not an environment artist. I'm just, a gameplay guy. So it is not indicative of final quality or anything.
Passaram muita novidade, tá? Muita coisa. Se eu for falar aqui, a gente vai levar mais meia hora aí de live. Mas muita coisa, cara, passou aí. Eu aconselho a você realmente em voltar à live depois, assistir os pontos interessantes. Tava legendado até pouco tempo atrás. Então tem cinemática, tem um monte de coisa, um monte de novidade aí, tá?
Anything like that. And with that, let's roll it.
Inclusive agora, vai ter spoilerzinho aí, olha aí.
Over here, now. Do you know why I called you here, cadet? You've been a disgrace to the council ranks. We have standards, and you're not meeting them.
I'm sorry. I mean, Captain. I'll do better.
Words are cheap, Raft. I need to see action. What we are doing here keeps Aoki safe, and Aoki is the heart of the Ooster. If we fail here, our entire civilization is in danger. You know how important the belt is for us, Rathbot. If you don't start pulling your own weight, I'll send your core straight back to your mother.
What kind of intel did I miss? Anything major?
We received an unknown signal on the northern quadrant of the system and sent a patrol to scout. Once they got there, they found the carcass of a packlight and a calico scud hidden among the asteroid field. It was probably a Jorvik attack, but we are investigating what is going on. I'm giving you a chance to make up for your failures, Raft. The scud is the only lead in this incident, and we need answers. I sent it for analysis on Aoki, but I still haven't heard anything from them. This is where you come in. You will go to Aoki and meet with the Sergeant Belk Idit, who is responsible for the scud analysis. Check the ship status and return it here if it is ready. A simple task, but one that needs to be done right.
I'll get it done, sir. Where do I start?
A gente viu aí que tem esse diálogo, né? Isso aí é uma missão que vai acontecer na Unreal Engine 5. Tem os diálogos, tem as múltiplas escolhas ali. Eu acredito que qualquer coisa que você falasse ali ia dar no mesmo ia dar no mesmo fim, mas é um começo, né? Então, a gente pode ter essas múltiplas escolhas aí, levando a lugares diferentes, enfim.
Sergeant Belk Id. He's been overseeing the ship investigation. You will find him in one of our hangars in Ioki. Check the ship's conditions, and if it can fly, bring it to me. No delays, Raft. Since we are short on time, take my F4 and get moving. I'd better not find a single scratch on it once you're done.
Ó, tem a missão aqui, tá vendo? Aqui no canto superior esquerdo.
For your own sake. We'll stay in touch during the mission. Keep the comms open.
F4 prontinha.
Can't believe I get to fly an F4. This mission might be the best punishment I ever got.
Did you say something, Raft?
Nothing, sir.
Parece até uma piadinha, né?
This should be the cargo area. My calculations indicate that it can hold around 16.135 Galaxy storage units. It's above average for a fighter class. Nice. Whoa, now this is what I'm talking about. Is this a Gan shockwave rifle? Look at these cells. The Muds must have thought, why not add a tiny dungeon to our ship? And here it is. Honestly, this is genius.
Cela ali, né?
This hologram is sick. I can't believe they use this for navigation. Humans really know how to make things feel epic. Whoa!
O cara ficou chocado com a mesa, tá ligado? Tá bonito, hein? Meu Deus.
Just checking the instruments before takeoff, sir. All right, I'm on my way.
Essa visão, essa vista, irmão, do cockpit.
Three, two, one, engage.
Testing. Captain Gagley, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, soldier.
I know this is kind of cliche, but this view never ceases to amaze me. I can see the drifting sands of Uvana Salar and the southern sea shimmering. It brings back memories of when Mother brought us here for vacations. Laura and I would spend the whole day running through those dunes and doing a whole lot of nothing. Nothing ever happened. Pretty much like the patrols. Sorry, sir. That was out of line.
Raft, you're lucky. You know that? You should be thankful to live in an age where your missions involve patrolling, not dropping into hellholes like I did during the Convergence War. I couldn't afford to slide back then.
Honestly, I would have rather lived back then. I joined the council to protect our people and make a name for myself, like you did, sir. But all I ever get to do is train or retrieve ships from maintenance.
I was like you when I joined the Army, Raft, seeking the same glory you seek now. Until my first mission, when alien worms devoured half of my potential.
Esse diálogo aí é interessante, né? Porque, tipo assim, as viagens, elas costumam ser longas, né? Porque o universo é grande. E ter alguém pra conversar ali, eu acho que futuramente pode ser uma IA treinada ali pra você conversar, dar uma resposta e evoluir nessa conversação. Porra, vai ser interessantíssimo, né?
On an elder forsaken planet. I'm sure they would rather be alive patrolling the Vesuvius belt.
I'm sorry, sir.
Look, you've got potential, son. But potential means nothing if you don't put in the work. Get your act together. If you want to face the darkness of Galia.
Cara, esse aqui é massa, né? Você vai entrando no planeta e não tem nenhuma tela de load, nem nada, né? E a transição é muito boa, muito top.
You need to be ready. And this is the way to prepare yourself.
do better.
Só que assim, né? É uma parada, aqui pra nós, é relativamente fácil construir muita coisa aqui em volta, né? Só deixar essa casinha aqui, eu acho meio precário. Eu acho que deveria, porra, eles têm condição de fazer uma cidade inteira aqui, sabe? Não sei porque eles não fazem, né? Tipo, pode ser, é uma coisa simples de fazer, isso é mesmo. Porque na Unreal Engine 5, você pode replicar as coisas, né? Por exemplo, essa vegetação aqui não é posta um por um, ele replica. Ele monta um aqui e replica tudo. E a mesma coisa pode ser na base, ele faz as construções aqui e pode multiplicar essas construções por infinito.
Glad to hear it. All right, enough chatter. After you have met with Belk, contact me to report. I'll give you more instructions then.
Got it, sir.
Saindo da F4 pra ir pra Scud, né? O cara tá consertando ali, alguma coisa assim.
This is a security zone. State your business quickly, unless you want to serve as target practice for the auto turrets. We have state-of-the-art machinery here.
Recruit Raf Bod, reporting for duty, sir. Pleasure to meet you, Sergeant. I'm here on orders from Captain Gagley Doer.
You got respect. That's something. Shame it's missing in most of your new recruits. I figure you're here for the Scud, recruit. Well, today is your lucky day. I'll tell you a little secret. This Scud is quite special. I've never seen anything like it in all my years serving in the military. It uses a rainbow power source, as well as unknown alien-modified components, probably making it one of the fastest racing ships in the Galea expense. And I already have a buyer for
it. Nice one, sir. You can't sell it. Probably has sensitive data that's important for the protection of the Vazeus belt.
This is no joke, son. I'm selling this Scud. Don't you worry about the data, though. I'm a patriot, just like all officers, and I have all of it here on this SDU. Curiously, it is encrypted to only be accessible by high-ranking council officers. Gaggle might be able to open it, so get this data to him and tell him I'll send the Scud later. I'm already preparing a common Scud for bureaucracy's sake. This way, everyone wins, including you. I have a fat bag of Atlas with your name on it. How does 1 year of a captain's salary sound?
Sergeant Belk, you are under arrest for violating the Council of Peace Penal Code by attempting to bribe a council officer and theft of council assets.
Ah, just my luck. I got the dumb, righteous recruit. Now of all times. Well, I hate to do this, but we'll be sure to make it quick, kiddo. May your next reincarnation put some good sense into your head. Get 'em, boys!
A transição ali da cinemática para o game real. Legal também. Sabe uma transição mais ou menos, tipo, que eu imagino assim, era God of War. God of War era parecido com isso, né? Essa transição dos caras conversando, pá, aí virava um pouco a câmera e aí já o cara começava a bater e matar todo mundo.
Make sure to escape using hover mode. If you take to the air right there, those turrets will tear you apart.
Vai ter que fugir aí no hover mode, que é o modo de corrida ali, porque senão os mísseis iam pegar ele se ele fosse voando. Agora ele foi, ó, voou.
Every circuit in my body is trembling right now.
It's not. We need to get you somewhere safe. Since we don't know if anyone else is involved in Belk's scheme, you should avoid Sherwood. Go to Ilmoria Station. I'm sending you the coordinates and we'll meet you there shortly. You did great today, son.
Muito sutil, né? Essa transição de saindo do planeta.
I appreciate it, sir. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of this. But I'll meet you in Ilmoria as soon as possible.
That's understandable. There's something big going on here. We will figure everything out on Ilmoria. By the way, Raft, everything in this mission is classified from here on out.
Got it, sir.
Flight mode.
Sir, I see Ilmoria Station. Any specific dock I should aim for?
Yes, go for Dock 5. I just docked myself. My friend Sana owns this place. He has quite the interesting backstory. You see, that's the attack alarm. Something is going on. Is there anything on your visuals, Raft?
Eita, eita.
The ship's scanner is going wild, sir, but nothing on vision.
Raft, are you there? What is going on? Raft,
Brotou uma titã.
go back, Ryoki. Keep the gut safe. Don't trust the elders. Don't find you.
Sir, I did not copy. Can you repeat?
Brotou uma tufa titã bolada, fio. Aí, é um teaser, né? Legal.
What'd you think? All right. Cool. So let's talk about how we achieved that. So first thing I want to talk about is nested level streaming. So in a game engine, anything that's in the world has to be stored in memory. And there's a limit to that, obviously. So you can't have everything in memory all the time. And when you're talking about a world as big as ours with, multiple planets, we need a way to handle, what's loaded at a time. And so we use nested level streaming. So these levels are less nested inside of each other. So inside of a system, there'll be a planet, and inside of a planet container it can be a moon. Inside of the moon container it can be a base, etc. And this combines with Unreal has a native world partition system that automatically streams in and out based on size and proximity. So you can see 4 cubes. This is only one system. These 4 cubes are the spawn volumes for 4 different planets. So as soon as I enter this cube, a planet will spawn in. I think it's Neuno. Neuno has 2 moons, so each of the moons has a volume. So I enter one of the cubes, and the moon spawns. And then the moon also has that little spawn volume. That's for like a little station, a little platform. So I enter that cube. And the station spawns in. There it is. And then everything works in reverse, obviously, as I back out. Station unloads. Moon unloads. Planet unloads. All right, directional gravity. Obviously, we don't want to be falling off the planet. So in all game engines, it assumes that up is up and down is down, which works at 99% of the time, but doesn't work for us. So we needed a custom solution. So we have a system of gravity volumes that when you enter it, it talks to the character movement component and the ship movement component. It tells them which way is up. So in the case of a planet, as you move around the planet every frame, it updates to tell you to update that gravity vector. So this is a test level we built to show off our gravity volumes. So these moving platforms have gravity volumes. So as soon as I enter it, my up is now, this platform's up. And I stick to it as it moves around. And then as soon as I get off it, I leave its volume and I'm back to like the world gravity. This shows, you could imagine using this for like racing if we want to like ride on walls or do loop-de-loops and kind of stuff like that. And then we have our classic Mario Galaxy style planetary gravity. Walk any which way I like. And then, of course, it also works with vehicles in hover mode. So, bit of a rough landing here. Now I can fly all over the planet, and I stick to it, and I'm always up, and it just works. All right, subwarp travel. So space is big, even scaled down space like we have, it still takes forever to get anywhere. So we need a way to travel very fast between planets and sectors. So subwarp is another flight mode. So we have flight mode, hover mode, and now subwarp mode. Just in general, we want our travel time to be faster than other games. Space games have kind of this reputation of travel is very boring because you're just kind of sitting there waiting to get where you're going, which kind of helps to sell the idea that space is big, but it's also kind of boring. So we want it to be fast. Subwarp will cost fuel. You can, of course, that's a big part of our economy, fuel. And then we have a subwarp drive component. That's a part of your ship. It dictates how fast you go on subwarp and how fast you spool. And so we've shown before we have jump gates that can go from many sectors across. But if you just want to go the next sector over, you can just subwarp straight there.
3, 2, 1, engage.
So we just got this cool new VFX came in after we shot that last video. So you have this kind of subwarp effect. You can target like stars and planets, and it'll tell you a little bit about it. You can see the blue orbit lines around planets. So that's Sharaput, it's Ioki's moon. Ioki itself, it shows how far away it is and how long it'll take you to get there at your current speed. Okay, ship AI, this is a bit over my head, so I'm just going to tell you what the engineer told me. So reinforced learning, machine learning, deep learning, and it's all kind of the same deal. So our agents perform actions. So in our case, it would be a ship. The action would be steering and throttle control. And then basically, if they do it right, then it remembers that. And if they do it wrong, it forgets it. So read that real quick. So this is kind of hard to see, but so this white line is our track. The pink rings are gates. It's an air track. And you can see the little pink ships, the little pink dots are the ships. So you can see they're terrible. They're like going way off course. They're going really slow. If they get too off course, they get reset. And we just let these go in real time. Just like let it run overnight. And they're just learning like a player would learn. And then an hour later, you can see they're cruising. They're going fast. They're staying on the track. So in our build right now that you can play here and on the show floor, if you go to racing, you are playing machine learning bots. So we started them with racing, and next we'll do like dogfighting. So in that video you saw, we have a dialogue system where you can talk to NPCs, and we have a mission system. So they're both state tree based, and you'll kind of see what that means in a minute, but it's very easy for designers to set up and to see the flow of the conversation and the mission. They're tightly integrated, so dialogue lines can trigger quest steps and vice versa. And then for each line of dialogue, you can assign an animation for the body and the face. You can pick a shot, so I want this to be a wide shot, close-up shot, and then also you assign the actual audio file clip for, like we had. And then tasks for missions, we can make them anything we want to be, but so eliminate a target, go to location, collect X amount of Y resource, etc. So this is like a time lapse of me setting up a dialogue. So that Sogami and Thug is trying to pick a fight with the player. So anytime there's a branch where the player has more than one option, it creates the UI so you can select what you want the player to say. And then you can have them reconnect down at the bottom to kind of flow. So you can very easily see the flow of the conversation, exactly what's said, and it's very easy to do. Same thing with the missions. So the blue squares are tasks that the player has to do. So this one's a go-to, so I have to meet up with the informant. And then I've got a branch here. I can either hack the terminal or I can eliminate the assassin. It's up to me. And then either one will complete the task and get the reward. So again, very easy to set up, very easy for designers to play with. And now, last but not least, my favorite, planet generation. So we recently hired a guy, an engineer exclusively for Planet Tech. Really smart, really bright guy. Funny story real quick. We wanted to hire him like 2 years ago. We found him online. We saw what he was doing, and we were just like blown away by this guy. And Danny reached out to him if he wanted to work with us, and he said that he should probably wait until he graduates from high school. And we were like, how old are you? He's like 16. And so we waited 2 years. Now he's graduated from high school, and we hired him, and he's super good. So totally overhauled our Planet Tech like from scratch. It's all runs on the GPU. It's very fast. There's biome support, so based on the temperature and the altitude and stuff, it'll spawn different foliage. So, you know, cactus in the desert and trees in the forest, etc. There's planetary clouds. There's basic ocean support. We want to work on that a little more. And terrain modification for level artists. So they want to flatten out an area to build a base or whatever, they can do that. So I'm going to end real quick with this sizzle reel of, this is like a test planet that we just set up to test out all the new tech. So enjoy. So this is all real time, from space all the way down to the ground. Awesome. So that's all I got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for coming.
Karatas Foundation did was
Legal, né? Tudo isso aí vai ser aplicado quando tiver a necessidade para que isso aconteça. Não adianta também colocar um monte de planetas sem ter utilidade.
establish the, let's say, the canvas where the players will start drawing the pictures, the painting, and expanding on it. And this is something that's actually super important right now because...
Aos queridos do Zesk, vou colocar um pouco, tá? Mas não vou me alongar muito, não.
At this moment, the Star Atlas community is having its first council elections. Actually, today, I'm going to announce here in just a little bit who are the first 12 nominees that are advancing to the second round and will be representing the Star.
And that is personally my favorite thing about the Solana ecosystem. The ecosystem is definitely a strong selling point for Solana, but the ability to compose with smart contract in an atomic manner is definitely one of my favorite features about.
To the DAO funds, and you guys are responsible for that. Like, with great powers come great responsibility, right? So Glenn, from your experience, could you share how the foundation see the role of a council member?
Yes, certainly, and the council is in a lot of ways one of the most important actors and organs in the ecosystem. I mean, the ideas come from the ground up, but it's really council that gives them voice, and it's council that implements the proposals that will come through. So the council member, as you say, is a very important role, and it's one that involves a few things. I mean, the council members will need to be, evangelists for the project, for the ecosystem. They need to be to do what they can to in this early stage to expand it. They have to act in with the best interests of the project as a whole in mind. They need to act without self-interest or conflict. Fortunately, the foundations and the councils I work with, that has been always a consistent theme throughout, and it's a model that's worked very well.
That's awesome. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I do want to say that, thank you to everybody who nominated themselves and ran, because I think the entire slate of candidates was really impressive. We saw people from all sorts of backgrounds all around the world, a lot of really, really impressive resumes, and everyone had different ideas about how things should run. And I think this whole election process is really helping kind of shape the voice of the community, what people really are interested in, and what they think is the most important direction for the council. And everyone is, they're longtime Star Atlas community members. They really understand the ecosystem. They really understand the game, assets, the vision. I think that's a great thing to see. And they're going to have a lot of work cut out for themselves, I think, pretty soon, because when you're setting precedent, you really have to think about everything you do as a council member going forward is going to be thought of as, everyone coming after you is going to see that as like, I'm just going to continue doing that, even if it's not a written rule.
Sets the standards,
exactly,
right?
They're setting the standards. So, and there are a ton of PIP ideas out there, and while many of them maybe are not yet ready for drafting and ready to be proposed, there are definitely some that could be there, and like a few come to mind. There's one, like even things that are as simple as adding, like seeking some development grant support to hire developers to build out multi-sig access.
That's a good one.
Yeah, for some of the on-chain programs that we have in Star Atlas, and I think that's a great, very simple, very achievable goal. And those sorts of ideas, it's a pretty good draft.
Eu vou pular para a parte dos vencedores ali, né, do Nabaton. É isso?
To Solana, and when I asked them why it's speed and the UX, and they can't avoid it anymore at this point.
I think we all agree on that, and yeah, I want to echo the kudos to Super Team that curiously all of you talked about. If you don't listen to their monthly call, I think it's one of the best.
Oh, hello. Thank you, Mona. Appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here. $50,000 for our first annual Nabathon Hackathon. I think that is pretty impressive. This hackathon is very dear to me and a lot of the internal people at Star Atlas. We've been working on this for a long time. The impact of this hackathon, Nabathon, may not be felt this year, but we have a very iterative approach to what we're trying to do with this hackathon. This is very dear and close and dear to Star Atlas and our ethos. We are building a platform, and we want to enable guilds, engineers, entities to build on top of our platform, similar to Spotify or Shopify and things such as that. So without further ado, I don't have much time. I'm going to play a sizzle reel, and then I will announce the winners of the hackathon. You can play it. our platform. Similar to Spotify or Shopify.
Oxi, entendi.
And
Caralho, voltamos no passado,
So,
galera.
without-
Voltamos no tempo. Porra, parece ser bem
There you go.
avançado
That was
isso aí.
quick, but we will release more information and links and access to all the applications that were built during the hackathon next week. So without further ado, the first of 6 tracks was the Galactic Marketplace Award. The winner of the Galactic Marketplace Award is Atlas Link. Super, super cool application. It's a AI chatbot built on a large language model, indexing all of Star Atlas, off-chain metadata, on-chain program state, marketplace orders, all of it. You could talk to it, you can communicate with it, and you can strategize and execute on your strategies. Very cool. Congratulations, Atlas Link.
Vamos ver aí depois, né, como é que é esse Atlas Link.
The next track is the DeFi Award. Also very cool. Squad.
Aqui eu só falo os
Congratulations, guys. First
vencedores,
annual
pá.
Nabathon. More to come. We're just going to get better. We didn't have great...
We just want to say thank you. Thank you for attending.
E essa
Thank you for...
é a finalização. E é isso. Valeu, rapaziada. Muito obrigado por estar aqui até agora. Esse foi o final aí do Impact Summit, né? Que foi um show aí do Star Atlas durante o Solana Breakpoint. E vamos ver a repercussão disso tudo aí durante essas semanas, tá? E aí eu vou trazer tudo aí no canal, beleza? Tamo junto, uma boa noite pra vocês. Obrigado mais uma vez por estarem até agora. Obrigado por assistir também, se vocês estão assistindo aí depois. E tamo junto, Falcon, tamo junto, Marcos, tamo junto aí, o Rodrigo, o Nil pela iTech, todo mundo que participou aí, na verdade, né? O Cimeaz aí que mandou um salve. Tamo junto. Valeu, Falcon. É nóis. Abraço.